Feel you touching.
If I could, I would. If I could, I would touch things. You know.
Oh. Uh-oh.
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 What are you even up to? Like, are you farming melding?
Yeah, I'm in melding prison, man. It's pain.
So
Like
that's
up to 80 right now.
ugh.
That's normal though, right? Normal leader?
Yeah, normal leader.
Wow. What riveting content for normal leader.
I mean, the thing is, it's a bit better this league because of the lantern, right? Today I got, I think, like 60 exalt and 60 annuls just for, getting the lanterns. So
yeah,
That's good.
it's okay. It's better than, would have been last league if they did the changes without the lantern.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's still pretty annoying though.
I agree. So I guess we could start out with talking about Necropolis. Easy and I have pretty much left Necropolis, but the whatever we feel like after playing it for a period of time, I guess we'll start with Easy because he left first. So how do you feel about Necropolis and its as far as you've experienced it, etc.?
I mean, I liked it. I mean, it was great. I mean, for the the completely overpowered kind of like overtune aspect of this grave crafting once it was kind of figured out, right? So I mean, that part was pretty cool. I mean, but other than that, I mean, the lantern stuff was cool. I do like that they kind of put the like having some notables on the tree, although then I feel like you're kind of shorted like 30 or 40 of your like typical Atlas spec points in like this brand new league. But I mean, again, since a lot of the stuff, like it's a lot of the in-game stuff and the Scarab changes are all kind of like retroactively fitted in standard, right? It's not getting to skip out on that like headhunter mage blood grind was kind of nice, but from the league itself, I mean, grave crafting seems great. Obviously, I don't think it'll stay. The Scarab changes, again, those are kind of not really Necropolis specific, but yeah, I mean, it's a great league. I mean, if I finish the unique grind, I'd probably go back and play league and try to finish up like a 40-40. But that's kind of like it's crazy how many changes that they've made like during the league. Like I was thinking about it before too. Like the only other league I really remember them making like a bunch of like mid-league changes or nerfs or whatever was like Delirium League with like the Purposeful Harbinger when like Tailwind or something was getting like aura stacks or something. But there's been so many mid-league like nerfs and changes. It's definitely been interesting to watch.
Yeah, there's been a lot of course correction for like people have found things, then they've nerfed it, then they've found things and they've nerfed it. Between like the whatever the shaper stuff and 17 things. And I do feel like I distinctly remember also when we first saw the Atlas tree with the points on it, my first thought was if this league is any good, then we're gonna be down 20 points on the tree because we're gonna want to put all the points into the tree. And I did feel like that was kind of the case. Like I really liked the devoted mods and the embers and the corpse stuff, and it all felt very powerful. But it felt like if I didn't have those nodes on, I was definitely missing out on all that stuff. And like it felt more obvious as far as tree investment for like scarabs, like a tree that didn't have scarab points and a tree that did have scarab points. It was like a really drastic difference. I felt like in the amount of scarabs you got. But the Necropolis crafting is pretty like the top end. Definitely feels like pretty much, I guess I would say it's probably stronger than Harvest because you could do things that you literally couldn't do previously. So like the number one example for me, I guess, would be multi-fracturing shaper, like or influenced items, I think is like pretty insane. Or like the fracturing haunted modifiers is pretty insane. So that's like a level of power we didn't have before. But to like do that sort of stuff, I feel like is a lot less like progressively deterministic and more like I could, farm for a day and then I could do a 1 in 6 and hope it hits and then try again tomorrow, which I guess is just like a different way of crafting. I didn't like the UI though very much. Like engaging with actually placing the corpses and like managing corpses and having multiple quad tabs of corpses, like that's kind of a bummer. But yeah, like the objective power level was quite high, and I do feel like I want to go back to League to make like a multi-fractured influence item. Like specifically like a Squire wand for like some sort of caster thing. But yeah, overall, Necropolis cool. I guess the only other complaint is I feel like the unique distribution for the corpses was a little wonky. Like the Piranhas one was so much rarer than the other ones, it felt like. And I would love to make more jewels, but I feel like, I don't know, just like there's not that many Piranhas corpses to go around compared to the other unique corpses. Maybe that's just a me experience, but yeah.
Yeah, you gotta put an effort to actually farm them.
Yeah.
Chaos threats to make it a lot better.
Yep.
I don't know if you've been doing those, but it's still like 10 times rarer than the other corpses. It's weird.
Yeah.
Considering it's the one unique that actually has variants, right? Where you want multiple. The other ones is just like a one and done, and they're like common as heck. So why do they even exist as a gravecraft? They could just drop too, because there's no variants, right? There's no crafting involved.
Exactly.
It's a bit weird.
Well, for the other ones,
cool.
yeah, the other ones have no variants, like you're saying. For like the corpses don't affect them, right? But then the Piranhas one, you have to actually invest corpses to try to push it in different like ways.
Yeah, you can actually craft it, you know.
Yeah. What are your thoughts, Manni, on Necropolis, etc.?
And I agree with what you guys have been saying, but the corpse crafting itself has been very fun for me. But I think it's a mechanic that is probably not fun for most people. It caters to like the 1% very, very much so.
Yeah.
Where like if you know exactly how crafting works and you're willing to like go through the spreadsheets and min-max a craft, it's actually really fun. Like I had fun sitting in Craft of Exile and just like fine-tuning, like do I add one of these, remove one of those, my percentage to hit goes up by 0.1%, that's amazing, you know, just min-maxing this. And I've had a lot more fun doing that than like old harvest crafting or something where it's kind of just, you know, I go through these 7 steps and then I have my GG item. And yeah, it also has more randomness involved where you can actually fail or you have to like settle on something else that you didn't plan to get, which I like. But obviously this is not going core. There's no way. Like the UI is incredibly clunky.
I could see Embers going core in some. They kind of feel like Scarabs, I guess, but you know, that seemed like they might go core or something with Embers.
Well, the All-Flame Embers are what caused all of the OP shit this league, pretty much. Like pretty much all the hotfixes have been because of
Exiles and meat sacks
destroying things. Yeah. I don't know what they were thinking, allowing us to add like 50 unique monsters into a map per Anarchy Ember.
Yeah.
In the first place, like that was weird in the first place, and then. Yeah, the meat sacks, I don't know why they still exist. They're so powerful. Like, they just drop so much loot, it's absurd.
Yeah, you could have, like, a vanilla tree, kind of, and just grab that one node that spawns ghosts per thing you pick up, and then just kite a big boy around, or a couple of big boys, and it's gonna, like, freeze your game when you kill them. They drop so much stuff. It's kind of absurd.
One thing I really like about this league is that it feels very well-rounded. Like it caters all bases. Like it has so many different layers. Like there's every map you put in, you have the lantern to maybe get lucky on. Like it's basically Ether Altars 2.0, right? You just get occasional divines or just chaos orbs or something, and then you've got the all flames to do like more elaborate strats where you actually have more influence on what happens exactly. And then of course you got the crafting, the long-term goals and hoarding and going for long-term crafting projects and so on.
Do you like that you can't adjust your map's scarabs after seeing the all flame? Like once you see it, you can't adjust to it.
It's probably fair. Otherwise, you would have this loop where you always have like one of your 3 atlases is meant for. I mean, you already can do that anyway, right? You can still swap the atlas when you see the all flame.
Correct.
The only thing you can't change is the 4 scarabs.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, I guess they might as well allow that. Like, I don't know. It doesn't really matter too much, I feel like.
Yeah.
But yeah. What I like about this league, it's still relevant even this late, like in endgame, because it has so many different layers, you know? Like if you think of a league like Sanctum or something, it's so one-dimensional that I got so tired of it after a while because it's just the same thing over and over.
Yeah.
This one ties in way more into the base game, I feel like.
Especially because you could just do things like add large amounts of quantity, which is very flexible. Like kind of like you're saying, you could just... And depending on what you want to do, you could be like, oh, I just want to add a bunch of quant, and then the lantern could do that, or rarity, or just packs, you know. It could do all the things you'd want a map to do.
I mean, it even gives you, like, it basically replaces most league mechanics, right? You could never do any breach ever, and still have plenty of breach stones, for example, with the all flames.
Yep.
Which is kind of what they don't want to do anymore, but somehow they just... ignored all of their past advice and just did it again. You know, where
well, to be fair,
just
that is
cross-drop all the
consistent. You know, like that behavior is consistent behavior to just.
Yeah. Like they keep saying they want all mechanics to be relevant and have unique loot, and then let's add this new mechanic that drops everything everywhere.
I mean, I'm not even gonna mention the fact that I thought acquiring synthesis items from synthesis content couldn't get any lower, and then it did, and then it got lower. But no, you're totally right. Like this, I did I had my hidden done through. I didn't touch really breach at all. I just got my all my stones just through doing, you know, that sort of stuff. And if we had the old 5-way system for the 4-way for the 5th slot, I would have had that, you know, from that as well. Like I wouldn't have actually had to touch any real content to just like progress, which kind of felt nice, especially in the fact that we don't have to farm out like hidden or invitations anymore. So like it just felt refreshing. Yeah, nice for Atlas progression.
There's one more thing I wanted to, because we were talking about the Atlas passive Necropolis stuff. I don't like that at all, like the way they made it.
Yeah.
I like the idea that you could like modify how the league mechanic works, but you don't modify them in a way where it's really like impactful, right? It just says you find more of this.
Yeah, this thing's better. This thing's like straight better.
It should just be like trade-off kind of things, right? Like, you know, a keystone where you can't. I mean, there are these keystones where you can't find embers anymore, but you get higher tiers, like the one in the bottom left. That one is good, but it shouldn't have. But nobody's taking that, right? Because you can just take more of everything instead.
Yeah. It kind of just ended up feeling like, imagine playing Harbinger as a league, but without any of the Harbinger into the Atlas. Like, would you do that? Obviously not, because there's no downside to. Like, it's not like a choice to be made. It's would you like more of everything and just be better? Yes, obviously.
Yeah.
That's kind of
They're not even that powerful though. You know, it's like quadrupling your league mechanic drops like Harbinger or something does.
No.
It's only like I think it's like 30% more corpses when you pick up all the nodes or something, and like 40% more all flames. You can still get plenty of them even if you skip them. Like I've been playing without the nodes pretty often too.
Yeah. It depends what you're doing in the Atlas, though. I guess if you have the points, I think the Scarab points are from my perspective more offensive as far as like not having Scarab nodes on feels bad to me. Because you just drop so many Scarabs. But I guess if you're doing specific 17 farms to mass Scarabs, then you don't need them as much. But like for like an Alkengo type thing or like
I completely ignore them actually. Like I have the opposite feeling. Where like the Scarab nodes are complete bait. Because when into 16s, you don't care about Scarabs, you just care about 17s dropping, and then you run the 17s and find like more Scarabs in one map that you would find in like 6 hours of the 16s, you know?
That feels like also kind of how like exacerbated the problem is though with 17s containing everything that, and then 16 belows are just, how do I get more 17s? Because I feel like when you map it a 16 after doing 117, assuming your build can handle, which I understand a lot of people's can't, but like that's like where everything is, and doing that sort of mapping without, you know, compared to 16s, it just feels like not even close. And like the modifiers kind of tell the tale. Like you even have like the more modifiers on the 17s are so aggressive compared to 16s for loot and stuff.
Yeah, the new high tier Scarabs kind of tie into that exact same thing too, where there's all like insanely powerful Scarabs now for mechanics that didn't exist before. So, like, why bother farming them normally when you can just do tier 17s and find like a Trial Master Scarab, for example, and get a Trial Master straight up instead of being like Lighty and running it for 6 hours to find one.
Yeah, which also feels kind of like what we were talking about before, where it's like you want to get the content from the intended content, right? Like you should be, the best way to get Trial Masters should be doing Ultimatum. It shouldn't be farming back to basic 17s for Scarabs, and at the end of the day, just getting 10 Trial Masters. Like, that feels a little backwards. But you know, it's a first balance pass. It's like I would say this feels pretty in line with how I expected. Like I expected 25% of Scarabs to be like super fucking strong, 50% pretty good, and then 20% pretty much duds. Might be more like swapping the bottom numbers, but and then like a lot of broken shit and a lot of shit that doesn't make sense, and that feels kind of where we're at. Nothing's like too offensive, but like definite balance passes are required.
Yeah, probably. So I've been talking so long about Necropolis. I don't know. what Legi has to say.
Legi's asleep. He went to bed.
Yeah, I didn't want to sleep. I just didn't want to interrupt your thoughts, guys. But well, I'm gonna be the Debbie Downer. I mean, I guess the usual. I don't know. I didn't like this league that much. Like now, it's kind of growing me once we gone through the hurdles. But like all those things that you guys kind of painted more positive, like all flames letting you skip things, Scarabs letting you skip things. I think it makes like other content kind of irrelevant, and like you skip a lot of things, right?
Definitely.
Which is I don't know. You can say it's fine, it's like good that you can just not do things and like do this and interact with league mechanic, but it feels kind of cheap. But for me, the bigger issue was like how many things they tried to change at once, and it just didn't feel right for me. Like how many things they wanted to do, and like it felt really off. So like to iterate my experience with this league, I started with the random bow build that I usually do, but dropped a headhunter like really early, which I should be really happy about that. But I really didn't have a lot of fun with like progressing to 17s and like 17s being what they are right now, which we're gonna obviously talk about later. But like all those things changing with like all the cumbersomeness of the UI and the pressure on the Atlas tree, etc. And it's like they made a lot of decisions I'm not very happy with, honestly. That said, to counteract that, I think it's going to be good long term. Like those are good long term changes, but short term they felt like a month of beta testing, which I hated. I absolutely despised that we like were literally beta testing, and they were like whack-a-moling all those things that people found.
Yeah,
it just didn't feel good. I hated it.
It's a bad taste for sure. Like just to see a patch every 3 days and it's nothing but we stopped this from working. Like that just whether you were doing it or not, I feel like it really leaves a bad taste in your mouth because like a lot of you were saying like the UI clunkiness or whatever, but like I felt like that since day one, and I feel like that hasn't been resolved. So it's like to see them actively putting an effort in a way to like nerf something, even though it might be too strong. Like, yeah, but it's like, it's a league, like, who kind of cares to a degree? If there's just as many busted things that still exist than the things that they were nerfing for the most part. And I just would have, like, it just sucks to see nothing but updates that are like, we stopped making this work, or we nerfed this, or whatever. Like, it just leaves a bad taste.
I mean, you can expect a lot of broken shit when they do so many changes of, like, end game, new tiers of maps, like, new things, but, like, how distinct those things, how distinctly OP they were compared to like the base game we had before. Is like, oh, this thing is like 17 times million better than this thing, right? Like this is so much better. This is so much better, and everything else is like completely overshadowed. And like if you are not doing this, you're just stupid. Like why playing the game, right? Like you can drop 7 zillion Scarabs or 7 zillion eggs, or you play your T16s for entire day and get nothing. So
the gaps are pretty big.
That's my biggest gripe with it. Like it's mainly not the Necropolis thing, because I think Necropolis league mechanic, like in a vacuum, if we don't have the 17 change and like the Scarab change, I think the league itself would be amazing. Like actually, if we don't have those intangibles with how the loot interacts with the multipliers, right? I think league is super cool. Like you can craft insane items despite all the pressure on the tabs. And like the lantern, I think I like the lantern a lot. Lantern is super nice that you can like manipulate it. That's very good. But other than that,
lantern does seem just like, it's also nice just to have a level of expectation what you're interacting with, because there's a lot of unknowns when mapping in PoE, especially if you're doing like a high investment, maybe like a slightly slower map or something, to just realize that, oh, like I wouldn't want to naturally have 19 projectiles and porcupines. Let me move that to a slug, like that. That sort of like thought process, I feel like, is cool to integrate into the mapping.
Yeah, I really like this with like all flames you can like replace monster. That's really cool, but it feels like very random in a lot of cases. I'm not the biggest fan of like this giga jackpot gambling thing, like the divine altar and the divine lantern. I'm not the biggest fan. I would prefer to more steady reward. And like sometimes some people are not gonna find this shit, and sometimes you're gonna get the gigantic, 70 divine explosion. So that's the thing I'm not the biggest fan of, and especially like randomness. If you're doing like one thing, like one strat, and sometimes you're just gonna get 10 divines, for example. And if you're, let's say, running boxes, then you get 100 divines if that happens to you. And it's like I'm not the biggest fan when things like that are implemented, but that's just my preference. Some people love the the rush of the divine thingy, for example.
The rush of divines.
They made this really nice patch in the first week, right, where they buffed the grave crafting significantly and streamlined it a bit as well. And I was really hopeful they would do another patch like a week later or so, because I feel like this league is one patch away from being like really, really good. But, the grave crafting, it just needs to be more accessible and less like complex. There's so much unnecessary complexity in there, like the category tags.
Yeah, I don't know why those exist at all, to be honest. That's kind of weird.
Like, why is it 88 graves per craft and not just like 30? And then instead of giving 500% increased chance,
1,500
like
or whatever.
Something. Yeah, exactly.
To be fair, I feel the same way about like a lot of things like that, where it's like, I don't know why, like, could we just make it so it chisels 4 times as rare, but then just gives 20 quality? Like, I mean, that same thing could be done for a lot of things, where it's like a higher variance, but lower drop rate, just so it's less fiddling. There's a lot of fiddling, and the 88 corpses, I don't like physically running around, and then if I misclicked one time, I then lose that corpse. There's no way to exhume it, like, and get it back.
It's just, I like the concept so much. Like, it's like build your own resonator fossil kind of thing, right? But way more advanced. And I like the whole concept of this crafting, as I said before, where it's not just I make exactly this item. It's not deterministic, but there's always a chance involved. So like sometimes you try to craft something really good and it takes you days to set it up, and then maybe you don't get exactly the right outcome, but something like one mod off or something, you can still kind of make it work and adapt, and that's really cool. It's not just complete hit or miss.
Yeah. I think that's cool for us, just to reiterate, and like not cool for most people, because most people, like if we did a craft that would take us a day or two, that would take most people a week or two, time-wise. Like, to grind out.
Too complex right now.
And a lot of, like if you pitched a league to someone and say, "Hey, if you want, you could spend 2 weeks grinding to attempt to craft one item," they'd be like, "See you later, alligator." That'd be that. So
yeah, I mean, I think their vision or the idea of this mechanic was that you can just you go to the graveyard and see what corpses did I find today or in this last couple of maps, and then just put them down and try to craft something, right?
Yeah.
Because that's why the graveyard is so big. They wanted you to work on multiple items at the same time.
Yeah.
But like the way it turns out, just when you make your graveyard 4 times as big, your chances don't go up by 4, but like by 40. Because it's just multiplicatively better to stack everything together into one item.
I don't know if they expected like people to not min-max stuff or what. I don't know, because like
I think they expected like the big crafts to be a bit less scarce. Like it's not gonna be like all the crafts are 80 great crafts. It's like 10% of them gonna be 80 great crafts, and like other gonna be like, I don't know, 40, 30. So that's what Manni mentioned. But like it turned out to be completely different, right? When you can just remove all the tags and like literally guarantee perfect items, people are not gonna bother with your the middle ground shit. Like it's completely irrelevant, right? So
I feel like that really feeds into the, and this is, I think, has been an exacerbated issue, but like Fomo and PoE is pretty rough, I think. And this kind of feels like a similar thing where it's like, why would I want to make, and this is also could be because some guy saw some dude doing something and he feels like that's the only way to do it. But if like it's pitched in a way that I could, just pop in, toss an 80 corpses and make something cool, or I could wait 5 more days and then have a shot at something actually useful, I would always choose the latter. That might be a more personal choice, but I feel like that's kind of the choice that I feel like gets pushed a lot, and that's also kind of the same way with like mechanics and investment, where it's like I could do this, or I could do what everyone else is doing, which is the best thing, And that even happens, I feel like, with builds where it's like I'd love to play something cool and like a homebrew, or I could play the build that doesn't die and kills everything, and that feels better because I'm actually getting to engage with the game more. You know.
I think that's exactly my biggest problem with like this league and the game as of late is like the discrepancy of things is like so insane. Like it makes the game, you know, vast and like cool and right, but like the discrepancies between a lot of things are so out of whack, and I would love them to like make it pass on couple systems.
So like
it's like, oh,
in the first week I level a lot more characters than you guys do, right? And I'll level like almost 10 characters in the first 2 weeks sometimes. So I want to try everything, you know, at least to like 85, 90 and like give them decent gear. And this league especially, like I tried a bunch of really decent, like good builds, like various Archmage builds, Hex Blast, Bama, you know, things that like, these aren't like shitter builds. These are like known good builds. And then I just like was playing COC Detonate Dead. And it's kind of like, why am I even doing anything else? Because this is being able to do everything else these other builds can with basically the same investment, but I'm just not dying and everything else is dying faster. And it just kind of felt like a why. It's like a really more than normal this league, at least for me, was like, why even do anything else at the moment for this, like at the point I'm at.
I think there was like a meme I think I saw on the Reddit yesterday. It was like the cycle of builds or whatever, right? It's like you start your build with like a known good meta build, then you get 20 divines, obviously different for SSF. It's like, oh, I'll try this, you know, off meta build, and then just hate that it's not as good as your starter, and then you'll go back to the starter to farm more currency, and then you'll get up to 200 divines, and then you'll try the next one or whatever, right? And then it's like, shit. All right, I guess I'll try again next league, and
This is not exactly new, this league, though. I feel like it's... No. I mean, it's worse this league with tier 17s being so dominant, I suppose. But
yeah.
I mean, I have this every league where I'm like... I start a good build because I'm just the kind of guy that... I want to play the strongest thing, you know? I'm like the kind of... That's the type of player I am.
Yeah.
And then it's really hard to find a reason to reroll because... What would be better than my starter, you know? Like, it's really hard to find something better.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and it's also like not just a league thing because I'm in standard and it's the same thing where like I'm playing the Fulcrum Chieftain and it's effectively immortal and AFK. And it's like it's a hard sell for me to get past those two things, you know? Now not that's the case with every league, but like there's always gonna be that thing, you know. But that's
I don't know what I want to specifically mention about it, but just kind of talking about like that first week pass, like change of like the grave crafting though. Like, remember whenever it was like first introduced, like didn't you have to have like way lower mod tier ratings, and there wasn't it for like specific crafts and stuff?
Substantially lower, yeah.
Yeah, so like
I mean again, chaos like, also to itemize a corpse.
Yeah, and it costs the chaos to itemize a corpse. So like that changed, you know, that completely flipped it over, and like being able to just like one click, you know, save your corpses and stuff. Like I couldn't imagine like playing the first iteration. So I mean,
well, we did.
So glad that they. Well, we did. We did.
And also in Bestiary, I mean, it's the same thing that still kind of exists for the same purpose, where it's like itemizing a beast costs to chaos, right? That's I guess it's like less quantity, higher quality, objectively for a beast versus a corpse, but you know, it's still kind of strange that like. It's great that they made the change, but to me, that's one of those like so obvious changes where it's like, how did this even get by? You know, where it's like, especially when you compare the two, these are like, all right, if you have one in one hand, one in the other, and you had like 1,000 people pick, who the hell is picking the first version? You know, like in what way is that objectively better? I don't even like in every measurable metric. It costs more. It's more like less click intensive is worse. Like you said, the mod tier rating system was specified and whatever worse, but like, yeah.
I think we just have to be a bit lenient on them, honestly. Like, I think, well, in a sense that this league was kind of rushed. They really wanted to release it later, but it was like, oh, this lines up with holiday, so we're just gonna push for holiday, and it shows. And like even Mark, like in the post that he made, is like, oh, we're never gonna release the thing on freaking holiday season. It's like, yep, don't release things on holiday seasons. It shows that you undercooked this shit. And yeah, they like kept iterating on it, and I think that what left a lot of bad taste in people's mouths, especially with me as well, like included.
If you go to a restaurant and every meal's undercooked, isn't that just how the restaurant operates? Because I feel like every time I hear every league, we wanted more time, we needed more time, we wanted whatever. But like, shouldn't they just lower like how many changes they made this league between all the different mechanics and scarabs and 17s and balance? It's like probably should have just removed one ingredient from this equation to be able to refine what they put out better.
The plate was a bit too full there.
Yeah, big full plate. I would have sent the dish back, you know.
I mean, I would as well, but it is what it is.
They probably should have made a pretty small league mechanic combined with this like T17 stuff, because that was a pretty major rework, right?
Oh yeah.
The Scarab and T17s, and then they also bring in league mechanic that has like 5 different layers.
All-encompassing, like, affects mapping, like leveling, crafting, kind of MFing. Right? It's like,
should have been a simple like out of league mechanic, out of map league mechanic.
Swap this in Toda. Just put Toda where this one was.
Put Toda, yeah.
Even better. Toda 2.
Yeah, I think this league just outgrew their expectations. Like they thought it's gonna be okay. You're gonna do this a bit of crafting, like you're gonna sort of change a bit of things with the old flames, but it turned out to be like insane, like multiplying loot and those abuse mechanics with things. Like I think it just slipped out of their hands. At least it feels like to me.
Yeah. Well, we've talked a lot about. We've mentioned 17s a lot. What are your guys' thoughts on 17s? As far as where they're placed in the game, from unlocking your 5th Scarab slot, how much loot they have compared to the rest of the game, crafting them, strategies with them. I guess we'll hear from Easy first because your name is on the left.
Yeah. One more time. I squirreled out for the first
17s. Everything 17s.
Everything 17s.
Everything 17s.
I like them. I think it's great. At first, once you kind of get the feel for like the bosses, like even on standard overpowered characters, it was kind of, well, I guess I did my first tier 17s just to try to get the Atlas slot.
Do you like that? You think that's better than having the 5-ways or 4-way?
I don't. No, I mean, I think that's kind of part of Legion's identity to a degree. I mean, it's just like everything else. Like if you need your first Mariketh Jewel or, Lethal Pride or something, right? Like you got to do that. And I just don't, I don't know. I'm not a big fan of that change, but again, it's now that like, it won't be a problem or a struggle next league, I don't think, right? And it'll probably be quicker. Now that you're more familiar with like the boss fights and now you can roll the maps even easier. When they first were dropping, like, only having exclusive T17 mods
that's brutal.
Without all the extra stuff, that was kind of crazy. And then you put it behind even with these like item editor characters or whatever. I don't know, but like I guess the state of T17s now is pretty great. I mean, I guess I haven't been doing much stuff kind of outside of just boss rushing a lot of them, because again, I came back to standard. I just wanted to try to finish up the unique things. So I mean, I'm not really, other than like Scarab farming, since I have everything else kind of in standard, I haven't been doing it for like the big map farm. And I think I saw Manni doing that the other day, where like just go load up a T17, you could drop like 30 corrupted 8 mods or 40 or whatever.
Like 100.
Or 100. Yeah, like I haven't really done any of that stuff. Obviously I didn't do any of the unique meat. Well, obviously you don't have meat sacks in standard, but again, like I haven't done anything for like pushing uniques crazy, but I have dropped like a random mage blood, which is kind of cool. Basically all I'm using tier 17s for was like boss rushing. Like I was just rolling mods that were safe, and now I'm gonna start kind of rolling them more for like Scarab centric. I'm glad, I guess, from maybe like a trade league perspective, even though I don't play trade league, that there's like a big chaos sink, because again, I think that's something the game has always kind of had some issues with, like a chaos sink, and I think that's cool that it can kind of stabilize divines. Maybe that's a hot take, maybe no one else feels that way, but I think that that's kind of cool. Yeah, tier 17's great. 10 of 10 would recommend.
It's funny you mentioned that the chaos sink thing. Because I don't even I wasn't even thinking about it from the perspective of like any sort of financial balancing. I probably I have like thousands of chaos, and I don't mind spending the resource of chaos, but I just don't like physically rolling them. It's like just annoying to me having to roll them so much. And I know it's like build dependent to a degree, but like the actual act of rolling the 17s is my least favorite part of the 17s.
Yeah.
But to be fair, I kind of feel that way about just maps in general, and then especially like this is a real Path of Exile thing, because like any other ARPG, the kind of mapping process, whether it's like Diablo or Torchlight or Last Epoch, they're all so fluid, and there's such little downtime between like going from what is like a map to a map to a map, that in Path, like the concept of, oh, let me spend an hour rolling maps isn't like a crazy sentence, but to me, like that should be a crazy sentence, you know, to like, let me roll my maps for the next day or two, whatever. Like that, it's like almost not playing the game to me. Like if you had an outsider looking in and you just saw someone just sitting there rolling maps for an hour, they'd be like, all right, when are they going to start playing? It's like, no, I am playing. This is part of my life. You know, this is like, that's kind of goofy to me. Yeah.
Well, it's like a multi-regex thing now, right? Like, I mean, if you want to truly optimize it, you're going to need multiple regexes, or you're going to actually have to read, which I can't do very well, right? Like, get exact maps that you want.
Because you're mentioning like specific juice 17s. Like if I'm crafting a 17 for Scarabs, like I'm looking for barrels, and then I'm also looking for Scarab being over 100%, and I'm also looking for it to not have one of 3 mods, and like loading a quad tab with that, and then looking through all of them individually. It's like, that's brutal.
It's just, in my opinion, it's just so bad. It's honestly so disgusting what they did with that system. Like they bound difficulty to like insane rewards, and like you cannot really like control it, and you have to roll for, you know, hours to like your maps, and like it kind of undermines the entire game that you made before. Like all the 16s, like all the process, like everything just becomes, let me just get those 17s, and all the loot is there. Why do you do 16s?
It's also crazy because you'd think like, oh, the concept of sitting there and rolling whatever, let's say 100 chaos at a top, like a crazy, like a really bad one or something, or like a specific map, like spending 1 to 200 chaos rolling one map and 10 minutes looking for mods. That could never be worth it, right? But it is. It's tremendously worth it, like to get that one map, because you're going to drop thousands of Scarabs, like unironically, if you do it right. So like, and that same line of process can work for other strategies. So like you could drop thousands of uniques or up to 100 corrupted 8 mod maps. So it might sound so goofy, and the investment time-wise and currency-wise might seem like, oh, the scales will never balance, but they're not balanced. They're just totally in the other direction. It's so much more loot than anything else compared to it. It's like not even close.
That's my biggest
problem.
Actually,
wrote maps for hours though. Like I feel like I've been kind of just chilling. Like I've been like the map rolling. I've spent less time map rolling this league than any other league ever before, because you only roll 17s, right? 16s, you just use the 8 mod Scarab now. So I haven't rolled a single tier 16 map all league pretty much.
Yeah.
And when I roll 17s, at least I haven't approached it the way you guys described, where you just chaos like one map until it's perfect. I just kind of, I take my maps and I roll them all, and then I cherry pick, like I go through them and like sort them out by how what they're good for. You know, like one map is going to have a lot of more map drops, and then I'll use that for Carter Scarabs, and the other one has like a lot of rarity, and I use them for unique farming.
Yeah, there could be.
I enjoyed it a lot.
I would say that's a luxury
I don't spend much time
of your flexibility and your build, though, right? Like to a degree.
I have to roll over a lot of maps. Map mods. There's like 8 map mods I can't do. And then some of them are like, that's a different topic, I guess. But I agree on that. Some of the Z17 maps are just map mods are just so poorly designed.
Yeah, like the action speed one or like the no damage one to me feels like I don't know why those in the game.
Yeah, that's just not fun, you know. It's just someone is trying to make our life as miserable as possible with those map mods, where you just feel like I'm just gonna roll over this all the time because I don't want to do marked for death or the action speed mod or it's not difficult, or it's just really fucking annoying.
This might be a crazy take, but I feel like every map mod should have at least one build out there, or like a couple builds that don't mind getting it, because to me the balance of map mods is that you're rolling for things that your build can do, and there should be builds out there that should be able to run that map without much issue.
Yeah, that's true.
And I feel like for a lot of the things like marked for death, or like if they made that like is it actually a mark, or it's not technically a mark? Like, is it curse mitigatable? Like, there's things like that.
Marked for death is exactly what you're saying.
Yeah.
Like, we have to kill monsters to get the debuff that lets it not heal, but there are builds that completely ignore marked for death, like minion builds.
Yeah.
Or like
exactly
mine
what you're
builds.
saying.
But what
Yeah.
build ignores the 40% less damage because you're at 4 to 10 seconds you don't do damage? Or like 100% reduced aura effect or no like there's some of those I feel like are kind of egregious.
I guess the 4-second deal no damage mod is the only one that doesn't really have a counter play or anything, but it's also not a mod that breaks any build, right? Like, I guess you're supposed to, like, for 4 seconds you actually have to tank things and you can't go to full glass cannon route. I think that's what they're kind of going with there.
Yeah.
So, like, my build's relatively tanky and I don't really mind that mod that much, but it's very annoying still, of course, but it's kind of playable.
I think if we like isolate, like, this mod is annoying for this build, and like we talk about you can like just roll a different build. There should be builds to do those mods. I think that's not really the issue. I think my main issue with like all of this is just binding like insane rewards with like cumbersomeness and like combining those things, and you don't really control much of it. Like that's the thing. Like for me, it's like.
I think what they need to remove is the map mods that are hidden positives, right? The increased number of rare monsters gives you like a huge amount of extra loot, right? As a map mod. And same for the barrel modifier. Those are supposed to be, like the map mods are supposed to be negative things, but some of them are hidden positives, and those are really painful to roll for. If you're just rolling a map to have like good pack size or something, like that's not hard to roll for, right? And then nobody complains. But if you like have to roll every single map for increased number of rare monsters or every single map for barrels, then it becomes really painful and people sit in hideout for like hours rolling maps.
That's a really great point, actually. I didn't really think of that because like all those annoying mods have to be like present because you don't have control over it, because your maps have to have those 2 mods that are like so insanely overpowered. So yeah, maybe that's the like real issue.
What strategies have you guys been doing when it comes to running your 17s? Like I know Easy said he was just running them safe and boss rushing, but like what other things have you guys been doing for your 17s?
Well, many different things really. Kind of, as I said, I kind of roll the maps to be runnable, and then I see what they're good for, right? And then I run the strategy depending on that. So like one we already mentioned is like printing maps from them. Like some of them can roll like 100 or 150% more map drops, and that's before effect of modifiers, right? Back to basics can then push it to like 400% more maps found or something sometimes. And you can get an absurd amount of either 8 mod corrupted maps, or you can get like these guardian maps, right? There's a Scarab that lets you convert random map drops into guardians. That's a pretty cool thing. Another strat is when you get a big Scarab multiplier, right? You can what I like doing there is the bloodline Scarab, turn everything magic, and then magic pack size, and the amount of Scarab that drops is absurd.
Nice.
There was one map I had 70 regular Kato Scarabs drop. Like, this is one of the few that actually still shown my filter.
Yep.
So I just had like 70 of one type of Scarab. Like, imagine how many Scarabs I must have hidden in the filter. If I just got 70 of one.
So you're doing the bloodlines, that's a limit 1, and then the magic pack size limit 1 also?
Magic pack size, and then hunted traitors, and glittering is a Scarab that gives you magic find. So since my build has no magic find, it's a pretty good one to use.
Yep.
But it is... What's really sad right now is that Back to Basics is so dominant for these maps, because
that's what I've been doing.
You can't really try many strats, right? Because you can only use like 10 different Scarabs. Most of them don't work in Back to Basics. So you're kind of limited there. It's just, the problem with Back to Basics is so good is because the map has like quantity is a multiplier to loot, right? Pack size is a multiplier to loot, and then those we have anyway, right? Into 16s. But then you also have these more Scarab drops or more map drops and so on. And that is also scaled with Back to Basics. So suddenly you have like 3 multipliers being scaled by 80% of Back to Basics instead of just 2 that you have in tier 16s, and then Back to Basics is just way too good.
What
quick sidebar that I don't there's no way that Back to the Basics stays as its current form 2 next league, right?
No,
like,
I feel like
they could go like to a 0 to 40, and I still feel like it'd probably kind of like a penance brand nerf. Like if you get the gear,
I think they should. It would just be negative 80 to positive 80.
Oh, that could be interesting. That
would be mega useless.
that's kind of a quick take, but I mean, I feel like it would kind of work maybe.
If you're gonna,
instead of like 0 to 40,
Why nerf the top?
Yeah,
It's like when they're like changing uniques, like don't nerf them, just make them more rare. It's the same concept. Don't nerf back to basics in the top end. Just make it so it's massively detrimental. But as a byproduct, just to even the fields, right? If the map gets negative effect, all the negative modifiers become positive modifier and it becomes very easy to run. So it is kind of, course correcting. Like your negative aura effect becomes positive aura effect in the map. So it's like you're not going to get any loot or pack size, but you'll be done with the map in 2 minutes.
Yeah, there's no monsters
yay.
in the map.
Yeah.
It's just a scouring orb, right? If you play the normal 216 maps, you can just scour the maps to get the same.
Yeah, but that's not how Path works, Like if you had a map that had negative 1,000 quantity, you run it, the floor is quite low, right? But then if you had a map that has a positive 1,000 quantity, it's quite high. Even it might be the same thing as far as averaging out. The results at the end of it will be way weighted towards the 1,000 because the top end, like loot, will be so high. You don't have to hit a Mage Lord Headhunter once. You don't have to hit it 1,000 times.
True.
It would encourage fishing. The whole game is fishing. It's fine.
Now that we had our fun, just remove back to basics. GG.
Yeah.
Okay? Yep.
Yeah, I think there's they could do something like just make it so if it just said plus 40% map effect, then it had all the static effects. So it wasn't 0 to 80, it was just plus 40. Would that be too OP?
It would still be very good for 17, because there's also, when you're looking for boss fragments, right, Uber boss fragments, the only thing that matters is the map's quantity. So you would always do back to basics again.
Yeah, but you concede there is a number there that you feel like would be appropriate. So if it was 30, would it be okay? Like the concept of like turning off extremities as far as like mechanics and influence, but adding base effect seems fine as a concept. It's almost like a fourth neutral influence, right? But we just have to find a number that feels
I think they should give it as something else than more effect of map mods. So
what if it was plus 50 quant?
Give it like pack size or like flat quant or something.
Yeah. Or it can be some like quantity scales pack size and rarity scales pack size by value. Like there's something they can definitely do there that would retain the essence of this. But then again, high concept, poor execution. That's the GGG way for a lot of things. So I'm not sure if it'll ever. I think removing it probably is the better call. Like, just fuck it, we balled.
I think what like all this back to basics talk and like all those problems with 17s is just they kind of panic buffed shit. Like with all those things, we were talking about like undercooked league and like not doing the enough dev. They just like this first week budget, like they insanely buffed it. Like they give the maps insane multipliers. They are rollable. They're like OP mods. And it's like maybe a bit less.
Yeah, there'll
like
be
sweeping changes like that.
What are you guys doing to farm out 17s? Because we've talked a lot about running them and like different ways to do them. But what are you doing to get them? Because for a lot of people, getting 17s is a problem.
I mean, there are like 3 main strategies right now to like get them. I mean, the main thing that is the most important thing is running 8-mod maps, which you can kind of generate from T17s, right? So you get T17s
buy 117 and then we can take off from there.
You can just use like a corruption scarab in a 16 and you just get multiple 16s and then it just it snowballs from there. And
I mean,
for like 50 maps, you're gonna have a full quarter of 8-mod maps anyway.
Yeah,
that's what I've been doing.
Fine. I mean, obviously we are like talking about 17, so we get like that's the most efficient way to getting them. But like you don't have to, right? But like quantity on maps matters a lot, and like quantity in a pack size, right? Because you cannot scale quantity on like gear, let's say, to get more maps, right? So it has to be through the map quantity, and then you obviously add carto scarabs to it. So those are the basic ingredients to obviously dropping more maps in 16s, right?
Yeah. So you would just do like 2 carto scarabs, a duplication, then like an 8-mod scarab?
No, you want to get 8-mod maps beforehand, right? So you farm 8-mod maps beforehand, and then you run those maps with 2 carto scarabs or like even 3 carto scarabs and not like some monsters, right? So you can either do that with, I don't know, ambush is very good because it duplicates the maps, or like, as we were saying, back to basics, you can get really, really insane like quantity maps with a lot of pack size. Like those juicy blue packs drop a lot of maps, right?
Yep.
And one thing that many people don't know, I think, is that unique mobs can convert into T17s, by the way.
Yeah,
so
they
if
can.
you didn't know that. So
I posted on a group chat like day 2 because
I remember that.
Because that was the first thing I found when I was trying to find Coward's Trial, was I put in a bunch of those unique bosses drop things, duplication maps, and then I was doing Maven, like the Maven maps, and I would be getting like 1 to 2 17s per map, and I was like, well, this seems fucky because it seems like I know that I feel like the rate of uniques converting to 17s is somehow higher, even though it might not be, but
no, I think it's the same. It's just a map, right? Map dropping it has like 6% chance with 4 void stones, right? So it's still that. So like if you drop a lot of maps, which kind of act like uniques.
Yeah, you're dropping 10 per end of map, pretty much. Which is, I guess that's a lot. Like you're saying, a lot to convert. Yeah.
So I think with those, like you could generate unique maps. There are a couple strats, right? You can do like the shrine strat that you spawns bosses and like apply the end boss mod to all the bosses, right? That's one of like the premium strat that people do in Trade League. But you can also farm rogue exiles, like the rogue exiles with the Overlord Scarab that make unique monsters drop 1 additional unique, right?
Yep.
So that's also an interesting way of farming uniques that convert into mobs that convert into 17s, right? So there are a couple cool ways.
Because normally maps are not affected by like magic find gear, right? But unique maps actually are.
Yeah.
So technically, just doing reliquary scarabs and like some kind of like anything you want to focus. It could be exiles, could be legion, anything that drops a lot of loot, and using magic find gear is kind of a legit way to find 17s. I was surprised how many D17s I found when I just did ghosted exiles, because normally exiles don't really drop many maps, right? But since they drop a lot of uniques, they can drop unique maps, and therefore T17s.
Yeah, I think that's really cool, honestly. Like, I really hope that GG doesn't remove that. I think that interaction is amazing, honestly. So I think it should stay.
Hot fix number 37 next week.
One thing about T17s that we haven't really talked about is like the whole new system of it, right? Like the fact that you can now access Uber bosses with these 17 instead of doing Shaper and Elder Guardians and so on. I like that a lot. Like that's like the concept of it is great. I know the T17s need to be balanced a bit better in many different ways, but I like it so much that I don't have to just sit through these Guardians on a very powerful character, because they're just really boring, right?
Yeah.
No, instead we can focus on like juicing up our maps as much as possible, and as many. Like beforehand, you wouldn't need more than 1 map drop normally, right? All you need to do in the past is sustain your maps, and you wouldn't really care about getting more maps. It wasn't all that useful.
Yeah.
But now my new goal is to find as many maps as possible, even though I'm hiding all of my filter, all the 16s. I don't care about them anymore. I'm just trying to like juice up my maps to find all the 17s.
Do you only having 8 mod corrupted maps showing, basically?
Yeah, I only show maps in my filter when I have the corruption Scarab on, so they drop 8 mod corrupted. Otherwise, I just hide them all.
That's smart.
There's no point picking up. I mean, you want to have some uncorrupted maps for the occasional, like, I don't know, essence farming or whatnot, right? But or beast farming or so if you need to do that. But most of the time, I want to run 8 mod corrupted maps now because I want to find more T17s. Right? I never see myself running a non-corrupted 8 mod corrupted map in the end game anymore.
He's an elitist.
It's just crazy how more common the Scarab is, right?
He's moved on.
The 8 mod Sexton exists before, but I feel like the Scarab is like 100 times more common than the Sexton used to be.
Definitely than the Sexton.
Oh, yeah, 100%. Yeah, it'll be interesting, like you said, like next patch, like to see kind of what Scarabs kind of get like the nerf, because like another one that I could see like maybe not being as common, maybe is like the domination of teaching or something, right?
Oh
like,
yeah.
I feel like that's a pretty common, but you could just like
the free level 95.
Yeah, exactly, 95, 100, whatever, right? Like that one's kind of crazy.
Yeah,
the 8 mod ones definitely, should probably be rare.
No.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, never mind. Redact that.
Redact it.
But yeah, if you talk about Scarabs, some of them are, like I said this before, right? How they're extremely powerful. The endgame Scarabs, like the rare ones, they save you so much time, which kind of makes it so that I spend even less time in 16s, because when you beforehand. like all of the mechanics, it would take a long time to grind, like farming your beasts or your fracture shards or Alva temples.
Yeah.
Anything, you name it, right? Like Catalyst, Storm Ultimatum. All of these things can be farmed like 2 or 5 or 10 or 20 times faster with the new Scarabs added for those mechanics. When you have those rare Scarabs, which feeds into this loop of, I just want to find 17 so I can print Scarabs in them, and then I go back and farm all my other mechanics with like the supercharged Scarabs instead of just grinding out the mechanics normally.
Yeah, it feels flaccid to do normal stuff like without the mega juiced Scarabs to a degree.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not sure if it's really a bad thing. It was definitely a cool thing for now, but I'm just worried that
you mentioned this though in the first podcast we did about Necropolis. You mentioned like you were proposing this would be like a type of way to play, especially when we saw the Scarabs, which is like you doing your thing and then you get a bunch of a Scarab for another mechanic, and it's like, all right, let me take a day and do all of those, and then I have all these things over here, let me take a day and do all of these. I think that gameplay loop is like super fun because it gets you doing a lot of stuff. It's like get you out of the house.
Just that they're so powerful that you don't spend a day doing something.
No,
I find myself
a strong hour.
I need some imprint beast, and it takes like an hour, and I have like 8 frogs suddenly. Or I need a double cropped, and I do Alva Scarabs for like an hour of the new timeline Scarab, and suddenly I have like 10 double crop. Like everything's just so much faster, which is cool, right? It's a lot less grindy. Probably a good thing.
Yeah.
There's also tons of Scarabs that just, why would I ever use any of these,
3 to 1, baby.
I think if you look at some of these Scarabs, they look kind of okay in a vacuum where you're like, I wouldn't mind having this on my map. But since Scarabs are so common, they're not just, they compete against each other, right? And then why would I ever run some of these Scarabs over something else? And then they just sit there in your stash forever.
Yeah, there's I think a lot of the first tier Scarabs are kind of just useless because a lot of them are, for me, like a guaranteed spawn chance and a mechanic that doesn't stack past one that already has guaranteed spawn chance in the tree is like, what? That's a little weird,
They have like very small amount of use, like super niche uses, like save like couple points on the tree if you don't have like any scouts you want to use in like surgeon situations, but like and that's not enough reason for them to exist, honestly.
The Einhar one that just says your map has bestiary, I was only using to add Einhar to a map when I first did my 17s in League. I think every subsequent one has been traded in, but. Yeah, we talked about 17s, going back a little bit. What are your guys' thoughts on the bosses in the 17s as far as how they feel? We can ignore the first weeks, like, because they were totally different when the maps were a lot harder. But, like, how do you think the bosses feel now? Maybe not so much, like, power level-wise, I guess, because our builds are a lot stronger than most people's and they, would be at that point in time. But, like, the bosses themselves, how do they feel? And how do you like the fragment change in practicality at the moment, and like the Ubers and all that stuff? Easy.
I feel like I kind of gotten pigeonholed into like the Abomination farm a little bit now, right? So again, just since we're kind of talking about specific hyper whatever, Abomination dropped Synth Maven frags. Those are like 2 of the rarest like new uniques that kind of came out.
Yeah.
And Abomination map you can run in 45 seconds versus Ziggurat, which is like 2.5 minutes at, even boss rushing, right? So, but again, like overall, I mean, I think the maps are pretty cool. I mean, again, I think that all the boss fights are pretty cool from like the limited, exposure to the other ones besides Abomination I've had. Yeah, I mean, it's just like anything else. I mean, again, I know you said not first week, but again, the first couple probably failed, but what, just like everything, once you figure out how to like dodge or this or just have a build that can just nuke them, then it's kind of trivial like almost any other content, I feel like, to a degree, as long as you know what you're rolling on your maps.
And you said you're doing Abomination. What map were you farming? So if people don't know, 17's upgrade in a like from certain maps, for example, like like Ziggurat comes from a specific like set of like 20 maps on the Atlas, and same with
Yeah.
what are we doing for Abomination to get Abominations to drop?
So yeah, and then just kind of just to backtrack a little bit more too, kind of like my take on how to farm tier 17s. What I was doing specifically is I found that Canyon was my favorite map to do because again I got a fast bow character and I could get to the end pretty quick. So I was just doing like a back to basics, double Carto, and then a combination of either Haunted Traders, the magic pack size, or barrels or something, right? And then just could run a canyon map in like sub 40 seconds with back to basics, kill the boss because it's typically got a lot of tier 17s from that. And that, in a batch of 20 probably get 7 to 8, 6, 7, 8 tier 17s or something, right? And then just kind of rinse, repeat, and then do the same thing in tier 17s, right? So then you just roll for eat free map mods and then just go rush the boss, and then you can get abominations down in like 45 seconds too. So I think at first I was doing, when I was running the Ziggurats, I was running, I can't remember which map I was running, but I at least for Tornado Shot, because it still works really well in standard with like Legacy +1 helms and Crucible, attack speed bows. It just has such great clear, and you could just do like, Awaken Chain, this, that, and the other, right? Like it can full clear a canyon so quick, versus maybe like a more like a toxic sewer map that's like, or waste pool or something that's, I don't know. I like the big open area because then the chains can just hit everything.
Yeah.
So canyons for tier 17s, and then just because I found that I think those are the fastest maps I could run, per hour.
Yeah.
Did I answer your question? Did I squirrel?
No, you squirreled.
Okay.
No, I have no idea. Yeah, I blacked out. I think it's good enough. I was looking at the T7T page, and just for people's edification, if you're just doing Shaper maps, those also, like Forge of the Phoenix Minotaur, those also just drop every 17. So if you were for some reason doing Shaper rotations, you'd be getting 17s off of those, because they are base maps. Trop Island is also on Abomination.
Yeah, I actually did too. One of the other strats that Legi talked about too. I was doing the destructive play with the horn scarabs of glittering and the shrine stacking and stuff, right? And then just doing like a 10 mod. Like I just put on my filter 8 mods from like any abomination maps, and then ran like 5 sets, like 50 sets of maps of like destructive play, and just cycling through, full clearing the map, and then just running abomination maps and doing like the old like 10 map thing, but like just completely skipping the invitation, like start it, enter, leave, and then just run it again, right? Like not even running the invitation because there's no point for me to do it. That's like another way to kind of generate just specifically abomination tier 17s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we were asking about the T17 bosses. How do we feel about them?
Oh yeah,
that too. Yes.
Yeah, that was the question.
That was in there.
Yeah, Abomination's great because you just kind of nuke them at this point, right? Like I don't know.
That's the Dodri trio.
Yep, the Dodri trio. The only nasty thing in there is like if you do get some like is like if you get like a big like AoE on the map bosses or map mods, and then she could shoot that ball out that takes up the whole screen. That's the only kind of thing you have to worry about.
Yeah, I feel the same with Fortress, where the boss is very easy, and then if you give it AoE, his abilities are very large and hard to.
The fun part is the AoE mod on T17s comes together with +4 projectiles.
Oh yeah.
And then back to basic, that means like +10 or 12, right?
Yep.
And the A-bomb boss, it shoots like a big ball lightning, so there's like 12 of those projectiles that take the entire screen and shit. Yeah, there's some.
Yeah, Abomination is like.
Yeah.
On topic of Abomination, then it's pretty interesting that like every single like negative map mod affects that boss, because like you have 3 mini boss and the other guys, so like AoE is there, projectiles are there, other things are there. It's like that's full service for you if you roll your maps. Really difficult, and back to basics, getting as Manni mentioned. Yeah,
you just got one shot.
but it is I think probably the quickest map, right? Maybe Fortress could be quicker if you were going for like those frags or something, maybe, right?
Yeah.
Because with what Lycia, you have the phases and
Fortress boss dies. You could just 0 to 100 him. Yeah, he's gone.
Yeah, Sanctuary. That's our Fortress. Yeah, sorry,
yeah. Fortress the robot. Beep boop.
I kind of hope they add more variety to the 17s. I hope they add more of them.
More bosses?
I gotta say, yeah, more base maps in general. There's only 5 of them, right? I feel like.
Yep.
Yeah.
Since it's such a main part, like it's basically the end game cycle now, right? You run 16,
well,
you get 17, you run Uber bosses.
They could definitely have at least 7 because there's 7 fragments.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
They would have to then
even
do 2 new uniques then. Yeah, also.
Oh yeah, make more of them and rotate them if you want to or something as well. Like I don't know, I feel like you would kill each of these. Like you would kill them so often, you know. The T17 bosses, I'm getting kind of tired of them.
What do you think of the upgraded uniques they have locked behind them now? Because Yoke obviously is probably the most prevalent one for us here, since we were playing COCDD. I did like upwards of 30 Fortress in League and never got a Yoke. What do you think the drop rate is on these sort of things? Like a 1 in 10, like a 1 in 30?
5%. It's
okay.
5%, yes, 5%.
All right. Do you think that's appropriate for their power level? I know that they're not all the same power level. Like I don't think Malachi's is as strong as a Yoke, as strong as a whatever. But what are your thoughts?
I think that's fine.
Yeah, I agree. I think 20% is quite fair. Like sometimes you're gonna get unlucky.
Oh man,
sorry, 5%. 1 in 20. That's what I was thinking about. Yeah, 1 in 20 is fine. Like sometimes you're gonna get really unlucky, and we heard the horror stories, especially from our chats. Like, I didn't get Yoke in 100. Well,
yeah, it's a bummer.
Like, it happens, but I think it's fair.
Have you guys used any of them aside from Yoke?
I've used the Darkseer on my Blade Vortex guy for a bit. That weapon it's really good.
I really like the Darkseer. Yeah.
It gives like what +2 to spells and then 200 life and 200 ES, and it gives you this blind
or
effect,
mana.
like
It's
blind hit and malediction.
Yeah, it's a 2 out of 3 roll. You can have either life ES or mana. Yeah.
True. Yeah.
Because the mana one's great for Archmage also.
It's great for spell builds that don't need cast speed, because normally weapons have cast speed on them, right? But if you don't need cast speed for your build, you're playing Blade Vortex or Tornado, or you're playing some kind of support build or maybe a minion build or something, then it's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's super sick because the +2 AoE, +2 all spells is very distinct, since like you don't have to have a +1 amulet or like +1 amulet to like hit your 23 purities, for example. So that's a very nice touch on the item. And it's like pretty interesting, like hybrid between a damage weapon and a shield.
Yeah.
Because it gets like a lot of life, a lot of ES, and like some blind. It's one of my favorite ones. Like Yoke is, I think, the best one power level wise. Definitely. Like it's just a lot of damage, but I like the Darkseer the most out of all of the items.
Thematically, yeah.
Yeah, it's great in my opinion. I know that Manni loves Wraithlord because it's minions.
Yeah. I haven't used it.
I like the gloves.
I don't know. The gloves?
Malachi gloves that nobody likes. I feel like they're a bit underrated.
Classic edgelord Manni with his fucking hot take on his gloves.
I feel like you could put them on a bow build pretty well.
As Hateforge doesn't care about Hateforge, he wants Malachi gloves. My God.
No, they have like 25 life and DS on hit. Like imagine having a tomato shot build, right? It's like infinite sustain, and they give you permanent charges. I guess maybe a bow build is not the best example because they have permanent charges from Mana Forge nowadays anyway. But it's still pretty powerful, right? To have to charge. I mean, you would need to invest some into them. Like you need to get some kind of charge duration modifier so that they're actually permanent. I think you need something like 50 or 60% increased duration on charges, and then you will have all of them up permanently. Because it takes like a while to cycle through.
If ES builds were a bit more prevalent, those would see a bit more play. Like the ES on hit is quite insane. Like because like right now most ES builds are just Trickster, right? And you get like insane overleach. So I think they might be used like at some point if the meta was a bit different. So
yeah,
I think maybe because of that, right?
Yeah.
What do y'all think about the curio drop rates? I feel like Solo Self found maybe in the
amulet
bubble. for the amulet, like I think they're all probably also 1 in 25%.
1 in 20.
Maybe
These
it's
mathematicians over here.
1
in 25 percenters.
It's 5% for the curious, it seems, right?
Yeah. So like I don't know. Since it's such a random roll, I don't know. I feel like maybe those could be like 1 in 10.
I mean, they're not designed for, we're playing SSF here. It's our own fault that they're rare for us, right?
Yeah,
they're
that's
designed
fair.
to be just kind of like a watcher's eye or something. Like, it's just some bonus boss drop that you can make some potentially crazy item out of. But
all right.
I'm just saying we're not in a position to complain that things are too rare. I feel like when we play
No.
SSF.
Talk your shit, Manny. Talk your shit.
Yeah,
Let's go.
I agree, but like again, Reddit has item showcases of every, and like they're the closest like perfect one I've seen, like just at least in the Reddit sphere. It's like not even close to being perfect. So like the odds of seeing like a perfect one, I think, are just not that we need to see a perfect one, but since they come corrupted, I feel like since there's such a variance to them, they could maybe be a little bit more common.
Hot take. I don't think it's that good. How about that? I don't think it's that great of an item.
Whoa,
yeah.
hot take.
What?
If it rolls
it's insane.
It's insane.
I don't know. I feel like getting 90 all res is like easy now because of the fucking flash change with Mage Blood. I feel like it's a lot easier to get get 90 all res.
How do you get it on a build that doesn't have a shield?
Well, I'm just saying because of flasks, the flask scaling.
Yeah, but flask plus purity is not enough, right? You need a shield usually as well.
Oh, you just don't have
your res.
What do you mean?
How do you cap your res with melding, without legacy flasks, Lighty? If you discard your legacy flasks.
Just play a chieftain, dude. Come on, easy peasy. I'm at a 94 all res artificially. Easy peasy. I think it's fine. I think the amulet's good, but like I don't know. The land of simplexes. I like simplex better.
I think that amulet is absurd. Like actually, if you roll it,
show me yours then. How about that? Show me yours, big boy. You don't got it, do you? I think those values should go into the negatives of the same values. It should be negative 30 to positive 30.
But then make it 5 times more common.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, sure.
I always prefer high variance items. Like, I mean, Watcher's Eyes, that which takens are probably objectively too strong, even if they had high variance, whatever. But that in the vein of that item where it's like, I want to see it commonly, and then I want to ID it, and I want to nut. Like, that's what I want to happen. And this is like not that. This is I get one and then I just don't give a shit because see you later, alligator. That's too much.
I mean, just play Trading and buy like 500 divines worth of curious. And
I feel like you'd just be hemorrhaging money. You'd be like that guy who did 1,000 Uber Exarchs and was getting -5 divine an hour. Like trade is cursed right now for Uber bossing. There's like 2 profitable bosses, and then they're like high variance for profitability.
I just don't understand though when everyone's losing money and doing Ubers, why they're still so expensive, right? It's like
it's because people keep wanting to. They keep running them, thinking they're gonna make money. I mean, there's like, not to mention, like I think the balance of the 17 and the loot distribution this league was so terribly bad because I wasn't a big fan of them just like making Defiance at T0 not saying anything, but like moving Annihilating Light and like the Maven helmet and just not saying anything was pretty wild to me.
Oh, what do you mean not saying anything? They said they reworked, like who? It's your own fault if you thought nothing changed, right? They said they're going to rework all the boss drops and split them into two.
You could say that sentence every single league saying we're going to rework the boss drops. That's like the most open-ended sentence. Not we're going to take a 1C unique and then lock find an Uber.
They literally said they're splitting the loot pool in 2.
Yeah, they literally said that. I agree.
They said that sentence. Yeah, but what does that mean? Something.
They showcased the Shaper example, right? Where the shitty helmet, the slam
Feels
helmet
bad.
that is worth like 1 alchemy is now Uber drop as well.
You know what's really wild is that regular Sirius retains value because of threads and trade. The fact that non-massive threads are in trade.
Sirius is so bad. They definitely have to look into that again. I feel like some of the Uber boss, some of the splits are not good. Yeah, the fact that Sirius,
literally,
like you said,
yeah. Sorry to interrupt you, man. Like literally.
Okay, you guys have to just kiss each other. Just kiss and make up.
I said what I wanted to say. Sorry.
I mean, I wanted to say that, like, literally right now, when we are speaking about this issue, I'm running normal mobs to like drop melding from normal ether, which is 2% drop rate right now from normal ether, and that's the chase drop. So I think the unique distribution is like honestly it's so garbage. It's atrocious what they did with the uniques, in my opinion. Like how they like distribute them between the bosses.
What
Like,
do you mean? Savior's behind Uber Ceres now. It's a great item again.
oh god, please! It's so bad. They need to look into that.
The only thing I wish that they did, just to make, obviously, the normal versions have their own merit to run, but I feel like even if it's not guaranteed, maybe a 10% or 25% chance to drop the Uber frag from the regular version.
God please. That makes sense at least.
Yeah, it just makes some sense. Like, I mean, I understand the whole move to tier 17s, but I think the frag should also be able to drop from the normal versions, even if it's, again, not guaranteed, but even if it's 25% chance and it's only one, I think that would make normal bossing feel a little bit better.
I just think the concept.
I think I disagree actually.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think I disagree about it. Like if you wanna like kind of design a gameplay loop, like randomly like getting a like shortcut through the spamming easy normal bosses to get access to Ubers. I think that's just weird, honestly. If you want to design a like difficulty curve in a game, it's like, oh, this thing is more difficult than this thing to access this thing. I feel like they should just balance 17s if that's where you get Ubers, that's where you should be getting Ubers. So that's how it should be balanced, instead of like randomly getting a teleport from normal fight to a Uber fight.
But you only get like a fragment, right? Like easy idea was you have a chance to get one of the 5 fragments, so you would still have to farm the shit out of an Ether to get one Uber Ether, for example. It wouldn't be
you mean random
the fastest way.
Okay.
No, not a random fragment, but
yeah, just
only
like
a chance to get one, and you wouldn't get all 5, right? It's not like you get a full Uber Ether fight suddenly.
I mean, yeah, that's what I thought he meant, like just one fragment. I still think that would kind of undermine like the design of 17s, like just randomly getting like, yeah, maybe it would be flavorful, but like I don't like it. Okay. So I think it should be like distinct pathway, like progressing from one thing to another thing to another thing. If that's the design, I don't like I mean,
the reason they put them into 17s instead of getting like Uber Ether from Ether, for example, is that you don't have to farm the regular version, right? Because it's boring when you can beat Ubers already. So you don't have to farm the normal bosses. Instead, you get challenging to 17s. I like that as well, yeah. But if they add both into the game, right? You're not forced into running the normal versions. So if you feel like normal version is boring and easy for me, I can just farm 17s more Ubers, but I could also farm the normal version.
But the thing is, you would be more inclined to like farm this. Like you would have, I feel like I kind of want to do it still, even though like it's kind of inefficient. So like it like puts a bit of pressure on you.
It's just a balance question, right? Like
yeah,
it should be better from 17s. I agree. Like 17 should be the go-to method of getting Ubers. But if you really wanted to, maybe you can't handle the 17s, or maybe I don't know, for whatever reason you want to farm the normal bosses instead. Maybe you just like the grinding and the easy bosses or whatever. I don't know. I don't hate the idea, at least.
You say you don't have to do regular bosses, but you still have to do regular bosses because there's items behind those bosses.
Well, that's just because we're SSF, though, right?
No, because even in trade, someone has to do them if someone wants those items.
Someone, exactly. Someone who's at that power level can do the normal bosses, but the juicers don't have to do it anymore. Like the strong chat people that have the mage bloods and whatnot. It's just it sucks for SSF. I agree. It's really unfortunate for SSF that we actually have to farm more normal bosses now than before, right?
Yeah.
Because like in past leagues, I would only literally just do one normal Maven for the Atlas completion, and then never again, only Ubers. But this league, I found myself farming 100 Mavens because I can't do anything else with those Maven sets. I can't run them as Ubers anymore, and I still want the gems. So yeah, for SSF, the change was actually quite the opposite of what they wanted to do.
Yeah. Yeah. The thing I have the biggest gripe with is and this also extends to like their redistribution of T0 uniques, but the concept that, and you can use trade as a barometer for that to say, I don't feel that a 1C unique should be locked behind either T0 or an Uber boss. Like to me, that's
how
just.
How do you find 1C unique? That's just an economy thing. Right.
Well, it's an economy thing, but the value is placed on it by its usage. So even if an item is never being used by anybody, then it drops to 1C. That's kind of, to me, that's kind of wild that that's locked behind the hardest content in the game. Like they're assigning an artificial value to it. You know, when they're locked behind that.
There's just too many Ubers being killed that you can't. Not all items can be valuable. Like, it's impossible for all Uber Shaper drops to be valuable because there will be thousands of them kill 10,000 every league. Like, how can every single thing be valuable? You know, there's not enough demand. Like, you can't. Every character can only use 10 items. Like, how do you have all of these Uber Boss drops be valuable? You know what I mean?
To a degree, but like a lot of them get valed out of the game or just, you know, whatever. But they're still like, you know, large chunks of them are like the difference in value is not represented necessarily by the difference in their drop rates or the difference in their usability. Like that.
Which items you're referring to, Lighty? Like,
I can pull up. I can pull up some. Yeah. Talk amongst yourselves. Give me a minute.
I mean, I agree with Lighty. Sorry, with Manni about that. Like, it's not possible to make like all items valuable as like self-regulating thing. Like, it has to be like that, unfortunately. But yeah, I just would like to hear which kind of items.
I'm gonna look. I'm gonna look right now.
Improve.
I feel like they're already doing a pretty good job at giving them like decent ranges, right? Like, think of the Exarch shield or like the new Uber Eater helmet has like 10 to 15 rage, right? So like, you already have a chance to get like a perfect roll, and then it's actually valuable, even though it's a common trash drop, quote unquote.
Yeah.
I think it's the best they can do, pretty much. Like, either make it, you know, be a good corruption target, or just have it give it a high roll range. So sometimes it can be good, or you can pick them up and 3-for-1 them at least or something.
Yeah.
I got another kind of crazy question, or just like talking point too. Like when we're talking about like at least T0s, like you're saying, like you don't want like like a Lionized Glare maybe to not be, it's a 1C item, but it's T0. And I always thought that that's maybe just the distribution if we think that all T0s are the exact same drop rate and you just get lucky with one or not the other. But when they said they made Headhunter and Mageblood 2.5 tier times more common, are they still like true? Obviously, they're still true T0s, but does that mean they were more or less common before, or
pretty sure they buffed all T0s by 2.5 this league. They're all much more common.
I think so.
Okay, all right, then that's fair. Yeah, that they said specifically though, so I was wondering if they like
pulled them out. I just said that because it's more.
Yeah.
So I just pulled something up just for reference. Yeah. So like, for example, you had on Uber Cortex, you have Mask of the Tribunal, which was previously from regular Cortex. And then they added it to Uber Cortex, in my opinion, to occupy the quote-unquote shit drop being at a 40% drop rate. Now, obviously it has synthesis implicits, and that's going to switch some of the value around, but for the most part, it's like 5 chaos, and same with Nebulous. Like, both of those were taken from the regular one, put behind the Uber variation, given the highest drop rates, so they're eating up most of the drops, in this case, 73% of the drops in Uber Cortex, and they're basically have no real value to them. Like, that to me is kind of strange, because it feels like the whole point of the Uber change to a degree, and other bosses do a much better job with this, was like hiding a lot of the, not hiding, but like placing a lot of the high-end value behind Uber bosses, because then what's the point of like doing the regular variations? But in this case, it's like they still have the exact same problem, which is there's, you know, drops on the pool that are basically not valuable compared to other Ubers, or like have a very high drop rate and have very low power level and very low cost as a byproduct. Like, that to me was kind of strange.
I think I'll give you that, Lighty, though. Like, I think Cortex, they did a really good job. That's a very good example.
But Cortex is weird because, like, obviously it's synthesized, so, like, there's jackpots, but that also applies to every single Cortex drop, because every single synthesis roll could have a crazy permutation. Like, Perpedia being a 45% off a regular, I would almost say is, like, I guess it's, in a weird way, maybe a buff, because it's, you know, it was off the regular maps, but now Cortex is so common, so you're trying to hunt for like a plus charge in Perpedia, but like, I don't know if that's good, but like some of them are, I think some of them are really, really, you know, good. For example, like Uber Eater has only 3 drops, right? Nimbus, Ravenous Passion, Ashes. And it's, I'm pretty sure the drop rate of, they don't have the drop rates here, but I think that Ravenous Passion is by far the most common compared to Nimbus and Ashes, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, how much does that cost? Do you want to take a guess?
I mean, the well-rolled one is really good. Like, well-rolled corrupted one. That's honestly exactly what Manni said.
Well-rolled corrupted that's my point. Is that they're going to be getting taken. Like, if you're adding value because we're double corrupting them, that's one thing. But like, wouldn't that
I
also
think
make
that's
the price
fine.
go up?
Is your point that it's cheap, or I'm not sure what your point is? You're saying it's the one that drops almost all the time, right? So
For Uber Eater, yeah. Well, none of them should be cheap if they're locked behind an Uber. They should all be good. That was the whole point of this fucking change. Was they're supposed to make the Ubers have good loot, all of them. The whole point was we're supposed to remove the duds from the regular, split the pools, and put everything good on Ubers.
How can something be valuable when it drops like 70% of the time? You know, like this thing dropped
That's
like
a great
10,000
question.
times this league.
I didn't propose this change. That's why I'm asking you. Why would they do this if this is the case?
Because yeah, the roll ranges exist, and like it's exactly that. Like there is a big roll range of strength on that item when we talk about Rise Smash. A big roll on thing, one thing, and big roll on another thing, and then you get corruption on top of it, right? So that's where you generate value from the common item that is shit on C item, right? Yeah. And I think that's fine. That should be fine. It's gonna be natural for this.
I think what these bosses need is like these bonus drops are what makes these Ubers so like fun to farm, right? The extra watcher's eyes and orbs and so on, the consumables that drop, and these special high variance drops like watcher's eyes and forbidden jewels. They need more of that stuff, I think. Especially Cortex doesn't have any of that, other than I guess the synthesis implicits on Nebulous and so on. But
well, they took away the. I mean, they should probably just re-add the synth items that were dropping.
They added the Curio. The Curio is exactly that, right? Like a bonus drop for a high variance thing. I think they just need to add a bit more of that, and then
Cortex got fucked.
I feel like for Cortex
insanely.
they could just add back the three drops, and that would probably solve the issue for that one at least.
I don't know. I don't think it would actually. They would. I disagree.
You don't think it's enough?
It would not enough. No.
Yeah,
it's not enough.
I guess the real thing is like so pre this change you had a boss, so like an Uber boss had, we'll say, 6 or 7 drops, of which the distribution of uniques were such that the more common things were, you know, like there was a gradient of uniques, and then the idea was, oh, what's the point of having, you know, 2 versions when we could do the good things behind one version? And like progressive wise, it should be like higher tier stuff on one version, but it just doesn't feel like that's the case for a lot of the bosses. And I feel like they're going to keep adding a unique to each, and we're going to have to split them again, because it's going to have the exact same problem solved, where it's like, oh, you're not doing Uber Pinnacle because he doesn't have whatever. Like, I feel like this is just with time, this will just occur again.
Probably.
I'm not really sure if I see a problem. I don't know.
I think they just need to balance the like distribution a bit better. Like I think that's the biggest issue for me right now, is like the distribution need to be looked at again, instead of like having those like randomly assigned things that don't make sense. Like I really think that, you know, like putting amulets on an Uber boss is like makes any sense, and they like 2% drop rate amulet, like Omni or something like that. I think they just need to take a look, and especially as Lighty mentioned, like Cortex is in a dire state, I think, after the changes.
Do you think that Uber bosses should have 2% standardized drops? Like in general, like because the concept was in a way was supposed to be like, if it's maybe, I don't want to say less frequent to fight them, but like they're supposed to have a better pool than before, right? So like, do you think that they should even have drops that, like, not for like the secondary, not like the curio or like the keys or like the second
even
thing?
Are you saying? Like everything
it would almost not maybe the same, but like I think it should be much more even, because the idea is that we're supposed to make a build to the point where like progressing to this is doing the most end game content. Like the concept of locking Uber progression items behind Ubers is a little wonky. So like there being an Ashes to be a 2 or Omni being a 2% drop behind the content that you typically want that gear to do is kind of strange. So I feel like once you get to that, it should probably be more common.
I think it's insanely dumb that there's 2% drops on Ubers. I think it's like absolutely stupid that's the thing. Like I don't think there should be a 2%. It should be like 10%, 10%, and like common one.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm saying. Also,
well, that's just the usable ones though, because then you have things like the Maven Wand and the Void Forge, and I don't know the drop rates of all those, but I feel like those are probably closer to like 1 in 100.
Yeah, they're not good. Yeah, they're not
so it's
good.
even worse the other way.
This is just a question of like mindset or expectations, right? Should I be able to farm every item? Should it be hard, or should there be items that are insanely rare that only very few people will have? That just, I don't know, just personal preference, right?
Yeah,
should there be these huge chase items, or should there be not? It's not really a question that can easily be answered.
Well, I feel like if you're locking, I don't know, the huge chase items behind the Ubers that are like, it's just so many layers deep to me. It just feels kind of strange because it's just, again, like what it depends on, it really, like it depends on what game you want to make, right? Ultimately, that's what we're like, in a way we're talking about. Because do you think this should be accessible, or even on the someone's like board for the league? Like, if you ask someone who's playing a limited amount of time, do you ever expect to do this, and it's like not even remotely close? Is that kind of what we're expecting? Is that like acceptable? It's kind of the same thing as like the Necropolis crafting. Like if I said I'd farm for a week to make a perfect item, and someone's like, yeah, but you could farm whatever average Joe time wise spending is like gonna farm for an entire league to have one attempt at a 1 in 5. That's not like a good pitch to them. So I'm not sure what they want us to do, or like what they expect us to do.
I feel like it's like the discussion of like, is Mage Blood good, or like, is Headhunter good to be 10D, the 10D item? Is that good for the game? That's kind of the question. Like, but that's obviously exacerbated a bit.
Yeah.
But like, I think Uber should not have like insanely rare items unless they're like flavorful. Like if there's something like very flavorful that like not insanely OP power level wise, I think that's fine. But like if there's a power uniques behind the items, I think you should like adjust drop rates sometimes on those. It's like I feel like with amount of Ubers, like even in trading you can get like those items. I don't think there should be like 2% items on Ubers.
Well, just a quick search, right? So like like you said, like Headhunter right now, there's one for 5.9 divines. But if you get that Ravenous Helm we were talking about earlier with 15 rage and a 90%, it's a 300 divine helm.
Yeah.
So like that means that drop from this common drop from the Uber Exarch or whatever, right? Or
it's not a common drop, and it has a perfect roll in a corruption, and it's like a 1 in 10,000 drop.
True. I don't know. It just that's true.
I feel like the common items on bosses should have like ranges. Like that is very good practice, and I think they do it very well. Like the helmet and the Viri's Veil. I think Viri's Veil being on Uber Mavens makes perfect sense in my opinion.
Yeah, that's fine.
Like it's super good, but like they did some bosses there that I think Exarch and Cortex just really suffered for those changes. So, in my opinion, at least.
I guess my ultimate gripe is that I just don't think shit items should be as rare as items that are very much not shit. I don't know. I guess that's what it is. It kind of was like initially exacerbated because someone in the chat was mentioning the Burden of Shadows thing, which was like a 1C unique and is the same tier as a Headhunter or a Mage Blood is, or any of those like a lot of those weapons in general, but off the T0 pool are kind of goofy because I feel like they just added shit items to like muddy the waters, which I don't like. That's kind of what I felt like was for the bossing. We're bossing for certain
EGG
ones.
loves their staffs and making them rare.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like, I'd rather see, like, I don't know the drop rate of Nimbus, but I'd rather see it be more common because it's, like, the most unique as far as talking about, like build enabling stuff. It's, like, super unique in its function, and it, like, lets you do a lot of cool stuff, and, like, just have a, the, whatever, like, the projectile speed or damage just be, like, a roll pull, so it, kind of like the helmet, it has, like, a big variation. You still have to, if we're talking about like, it still has a lot of value, and it's still like in a vacuum, you're gonna have to farm it out off of Uber Boss. But it just depends. Like, do you ever expect to like use it and actually play the game with it? Like, or are you just gonna get it and be like, all right, I finished, I'm done now.
What do you say? So 20% to 100% chance to return projectile.
Maybe like the return rate stays the same, but give it like or it'd be something even like functionally interesting, like -30 to +30 projectile speed. So it like some builds want less projectile speed, so it has different values there. You could do things like that.
Bring back that Calandra build. What was it? Spectral Throw or Spectral Helix?
Extra super slow Helix, the amulet.
Yeah, all boils down to like what GG wants with it, and I think like currently things feel kind of whack on Uber drops. I would like them to look at it. So
I would say this like definitely patient to see what they do next league, and I think this ultimately falls back on what you were saying earlier, Legi, which is like they messed with 10 different dials, and then they didn't really see what happened, and then now we're just kind of seeing the repercussions of it. So like they changed how you get to Ubers, and how the Ubers, their loot tables work, and the distribution, and like they added new uniques. So I think next league we're going to see a different distribution change, maybe a different rate of access, and then a different drop, percentages, and maybe they're even going to buff or nerf some uniques in it. So I'm sure we'll see some sort of
I would hope so. I really would hope so. But I'm not hopeful, honestly, for that. I think not much.
Little doomer.
Not much gonna change.
Little doomer.
Not little. No, I think they're not gonna do much with like drop rates. I think it's stuff gonna kind of stay the same. They're gonna change a lot of things in 17.
What would you?
17s, I think.
What would you like to see buffed from 17s as far, or not 17s, on the Uber bosses? What would you like to see change for the uniques, if anything?
I still think that putting amulets behind Uber is dumb, in my opinion. Like amulets should be like still the chase drop from the normal, and it like adds a lot of value to normal bosses. Like I when I was like predicting before the patch what we're gonna have on Ubers, what we're gonna have on normals, I was like honestly.
Ashes and Omni here, right?
Ashes Omni, yes. Crystallized Omniscience and Ash of the Stars, right? Those are two things I'm talking about. Like those items made perfect sense to me. Like in the vacuum, it's like, oh, I want to have something valuable to get from those things.
Yep.
Like from those normal bosses, and it like makes sense with progression as well. Like how powerful those items are. I think that was perfect, honestly. And I'm so baffled that they are on Uber, because like when you get to Ubers, like those items are useless in most cases. Like they're kind of useless. Like maybe Ashes sometimes for like very niche, but like it doesn't make any sense to me. So that's the main thing I would like to change. And maybe like a bit mess with the drop rates, but I think honestly that's just a design decision, sure. And I think it's fine if they don't change it. But like the amulet and the jewel should be reversed. That's the most agreed thing. And when it comes to Cortex, like when we are on the Cortex part, I think the helmet, that support helmet, should not be Uber.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. They need to do something with Cortex. I don't know what to do, but like Mask of the Tribunal, there's one useful synth and blizzard on that item. One. And it should not be gated behind Uber. So
they did what they could with the synthesis uniques. It just happened to all be garbage currently. They just need to like look into that and like maybe rework them, add new ones or something. I don't know. But like
they need to do
the
something.
Therapy, the Mask of Tribunal.
I just feel like even just adding synthesis drops to the maps would be enough, because they used to have them, and then it would give value to the maps. Like I don't know. I mean, Uber Cortex should drop synth items. That's not a crazy take. I feel like that's that's what I mean. That's where they come from.
It should.
Like, what are we doing?
We ask, like, what should they do to boss drops, right? My number one wish is that they add way more of these additional high variance things, like consumables, more things in the likes of Watcher's Eyes and Forbidden Jewels and the utmost. That we need way more of these things, so that you get consistently, like, interesting things from Ubers. But when you do, like, 10 Ubers and you find, I don't know, 8 Viridius helmets, it's just, it's just boring,
Yeah.
There should be more, if there were more additional things they could drop, like, extra orbs, like, and so on, that would be much more fun. I mean, Elder is a great example, right? I'm always happy to do. It's more fun for me to do normal Elder than an Uber series right now, because the Elder will drop a Watcher's Eye maybe, and like commonly even, and that's fun. But an Uber series is gonna drop another massive Thread of Hope, because that's what he drops 50% of the time now, and there's just nothing exciting that can drop from him.
Easy.
They removed a lot of like those ancillary things from Ubers through like those reworks. Like they removed gems from series, they removed like simp items from things, and it's like, but why?
Yeah. Those additional things need to come back.
They could just talking like the Eater and Exarch amulets. Like even if they kept it where they were, like they massively nerfed Ashes. What, like 4 or 5 leagues ago? Like what if they kind of revert Ashes and then make it a little bit rarer? And then I mean, obviously they know that Omni would be way more used. Like what if Omni was a 1 in 5 Uber drop? I'm not saying that they should or that's good for the game, but Ashes is a 1 in 5 or 3 or whatever. But Omni's this 1 in 50. I don't know.
I feel like Omni could be much more common Omni could be more common, because I don't think Omni is the part of the build it's the hardest to acquire, but it's not the hardest to make in a way, right? Like Ashes you could slap on a build, but Omni you still need the infrastructure of the rest of the build.
True.
Like you need to have gear crafted for Omni to.
And it's not even that strong right now. Honestly.
No. Comparatively, it's not as good as it used to be. But also, like, if I just had an Omni magically, I couldn't use it, right away for the most part. It's like, but in Ashes, I could just slap on. So I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's fine if it's common Uber drop or rare normal drop. I think it just makes sense. Like some of those items, like those are okay. It's just like when you get those items, they are useless. That's my biggest gripe with like a lot of loot from those Uber bosses, and I don't like that.
Listen, I know what I would like to see, and I know it'll never happen. But what I want to see from all of these Uber bosses, and the reason it won't happen is because of marketing and business stuff, is I want every single Uber boss to have a 1% chance to drop their layout as a hideout, and an equal chance to drop their little boss as a tiny pet. Just like do it straight RuneScape way. Because I would farm the fuck out of all these Uber bosses if I can get their hideout and a baby pet version of them. I know I'm not alone on that. That'd be so cool to have.
I mean, that's what keys were, kind of.
Yeah.
Honestly, and then they sold keys to people, and we have all the freaking fall uniques with a million different variations.
Yeah.
They literally pulled out the Hasbro on us.
Yeah.
Unlucky.
Yeah.
That's the one for the Magic the Gathering people.
That game can't help you. Hatsune Miku Secret Lair killed that game for me.
After we talked like extensively about Urbos, what do we think about the Scarab rework? Like, how do you guys feel about the Scarab rework overall? Like, not and like, what are your favorite Scarabs? I would be interested.
I think it promotes a healthy diversity of gameplay ultimately, but it lends itself to more like narrow and deep gameplay in the sense that, not that I was going to ever run a map and do like two different, multiple mechanics at once for the most part, but it's like, if I'm going to do one thing, now I'm going to do that one thing more concentrated. Like right now I'm running to get 17s, so I'm not going to do anything but that one thing, and Scarabs are like, making that more prevalent. But I try more stuff now because of Scarabs that I probably wouldn't have done before, for the same reason that Manny said before, which is I'll look at my stash and be like, what do I have to work with here? And I've got a ton of whatever, stasis Scarabs. Maybe I'll do some Legion. So I think that I like that it promotes that gameplay, but some of them are just too rare, I think, personally. But aside from that, yeah, I like it. I want more slots. That's what I want. I want more slots. I want 8 slots.
I like the fact that you don't have to like hyper, just like you don't have to you still want to have whatever strategy like worked out on the Atlas for whatever you're gonna do, but like you don't have to like save a bazillion sextants and then just it definitely adds more variance, and I feel like you can be a little bit more loose with it versus maybe if you're running a box like a 500% box old sextant, like you knew exactly the Scarabs, this, that, and the other. So I think, in that sense, you can be a little bit looser since they are, other than the rare ones, are more common. But so I like that aspect of it. You don't have to think as much. Not that that's a good or bad thing.
The Scarabs I don't like in the current state are the Divination, Kato, and Reliquary, right? The ones that just give you more loot. They just feel too mandatory. Like whenever you're hunting for cards, you always have to use these. Whenever you're hunting for T17 drops, you always have to use the Katos and so on. I feel like if they were removed, they would promote a lot more diversity in strats. You could suddenly farm all kinds of league mechanics to find T17 maps if you wouldn't have to use like 3 Kato Scarabs already, right? So, I don't know. Some kind of system maybe where you could, outside of Scarabs, you could somehow boost you could choose one, either you boost uniques, you boost cards, or you boost maps. You click like one of them is boosted by, I don't know, 100%.
Some sort of wisp maybe based thing. If only we had a mechanic like this.
Yeah, maybe an Atlas passive or whatever the hell, right? Yeah. Find a cool system there. Remove it from Scarabs though, and then we can actually, because there's so many Scarabs that they boost generic loot, right? Like there's Scarabs that just are supposed to drop a lot of random loot from, like, it gives more quant and rarity to mechanics, but they don't really have a purpose, because if you want to get random loot, that means uniques, cards, and maps for the most part, right? I can't really run a Legion strat, for example, because I have to use so many of those card and discard Scarabs. So like, why would I ever use this like Legion Scarab setup that gives more difficult enemies and what is it, the Eternal Conflict, for example? Because all it will do is drop more uniques and maps and cards, but when I farm those, I need to use the other Scarabs already, so I don't have space for that strat.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, there's a lot of strats that don't really work right now because you can't fit in the difficult Scarab, the Reliquary Scarabs or so on to like really.
Do you think maybe if they swapped the Scarabs into like, well, this is probably really bad, but they swapped them into categories, like, and they assigned the slots like different category types, so like you were forced to use them, kind of like I guess how Necropolis works with the different.
You mean like an
demon
extra slot where you can only put in Reliquary Kato or?
Kind of, yeah.
I mean, that's kind of what I was thinking, right? Just remove it as a Scarab. Remove those Scarabs that just boost loot by 50 or 150% more. And find a new system that boosts that to like compensate, right? Like, could be an Atlas passive or could be, I don't know, for every Uber boss you do, you can choose a permanent buff to find more cards or more uniques or something. I don't know.
Call it back to basics, you know?
I know. I actually
Remove
agree
it from
with
the Scarabs.
Yep, I agree.
I don't like the fact that I have to use. Yeah, I would like to try a lot of strats to find the 17 maps, but I can't do any of them because my Scarabs are all Kata Scarabs, so I can't use. I can't use Legion Scarabs, I can't use Abyss, I can't use Breach or Incursion Scarabs or anything really, because none of these strats are going to be better than just pumping up more Kata Scarabs in there.
I do feel like you're suffering. You're suffering for the fact that you're good at this game. Is one of the problems here? Is the problem is you are. Most people aren't that good or efficient as you are, and they aren't having this problem because they're just happy to be putting in Scarabs and mapping. This is very much a problem of you're being good. You have to dumb yourself. You have to dumb you down. You know.
I think I cannot agree with Manni about like those multiplayer Scarabs. I don't know if they should exist or like I don't like the thing that they are stuck into two. Like you can put two of each, like the two divination Scarab and like they hog the slot. So I don't know. I don't know if I like that.
Yeah, like try farming div cards, right? Like you only have 2 Scarab slots to work with because you always want to use 2 div, right?
Yep.
Nothing will beat 150% more cards. Nothing will like more than double your cards. Like no Scarab will, right? No mechanic that you could possibly spawn. So you only have 2 Scarabs to play with when you farm div cards and no Sextants anymore. So not too much creativity you can really do anymore. It's a bit sad.
Yeah. Well, and even something like like the Pandemonious Scarab, like let's say you get one of those, it's like if you're running like the dankest, the best rolled map ever, like Pandemonious probably wouldn't still be better than the other 2 div card Scarabs or something, right? Which is also kind of crazy. Like curations are so rare, but and Pandemonious are even rarer. But like if you're going all out, it might be better to put 4 div Scarabs in than even one that saves your other 3 Scarabs, maybe. I don't know. It's definitely interesting. Some of the changes or systems, for sure.
Yeah, exactly. Like Reliquary and Div, like I think are the most like things that they should like think about. But I don't know if I like the double downing mechanic, like super juicy mechanics. So you kind of don't want to do mechanics unless you have all the like Scarab set. Although, as you mentioned, it probably is fine. It just locks you into like those set strategies. So maybe they need to change Scarabs like regularly. Like if the system is in the game already, I think it's a good system overall. Like I think it's very healthy. They need to change them like frequently. I think.
That's a lot of Scarabs. That's the big thing. A lot.
One thing also, you know how they promoted Divination of Curation Scarab? You can now farm your apothecaries wherever you want, for everyone farming
once a league.
Who likes, what did they say? Like if you, yeah, exactly. If you like farming apothecaries, now you can farm them in any map. That's what they said, right?
Yeah. For 40 divine.
It turns out the Scarab is like insanely rare, and it's correct, rightfully so, right? Because it's insanely powerful. Because you find basically 12 times as many cards. Because you find the cards of 12 maps in one. It completely missed the mark, basically. Instead of allowing us to farm div cards in different maps, it just means you get showered in all kinds of div cards. It serves a completely different purpose than it initially had.
Yeah.
I would love if they
Yes, sir.
added some kind of like keystone or anything that actually allows it to farm Apothecary somewhere else. That would be really cool.
Twist of fate. If you get lucky all the time.
Yeah.
Well, does that even work?
Well, it changes the map type and then the...
Into a Crimson Temple one in every 132 tries.
Yeah, but hypothetically, you could always have
Then
it
you're running
happen.
a Crimson Temple again.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
just
I'm saying I wanna
always
run-
be lucky.
Yeah.
I want to run dunes and find Apothecaries there, right?
It's always want with you, you know, Manny? It's just, you always just...
I know.
My 19... This is like
what they
Easy
said,
earlier
right?
saying, oh, I just casually dropped a Mage Blood, you know?
I don't even want this. I don't even want this, but they promoted it, right? In the announcement.
God,
They said
what
you
a
can now
shill.
farm
Big
Apothecaries elsewhere
GGG.
now.
Manny
So I'm like,
crossover.
wait, I kind of want this now. That sounds cool. But it doesn't really exist right now.
Yeah, I think Creation is like the biggest dud, like the biggest fail after all the Scarabs. Honestly, it's like so sad what it actually like transpired with that Scarab. Like, literally bricked entire trade league, and it's just stupid.
And it's probably the main reason why Mage Headhunter has 5 divines, because have you guys run curation? You literally print doctor cards like left and right, because you basically find doctors, patients, and nurses at the same time, right? So like it triples your doctor drops, and then the Scarab itself is 120% more cards. It's just like you get a Headhunter in like 10 of those maps.
I have not tried it, but I only have 2.
Yeah, I read like 3 or 4 maps. It was pretty fun. I got like a full like stack of the Mirror Shard card or something, and yeah, I mean it was fun, but yeah, you can't run it forever.
I just got a mirror. It's fine. It's okay.
Yeah.
Right?
I'm not even saying it's like a bad Scarab. Like it's fun in itself too, right? Like raining all cards. It's just not what they advertised it as. Is what my point is.
Yeah.
Like I don't even want him to remove them. I feel like they're kind of cool. You just vary a Scarab to just print all kinds of cards. Like the way I see the curation Scarab is basically I found 2,000 stack decks or something, right? I just get all kinds of cards now.
So what you're saying is they should make it drop 2,000 stack decks so my poor little hands
that's basically
can break.
what it does.
And we can vendor stack decks to turn them in.
It drops all kinds of open stack decks, basically. I mean, I know not exactly, right? Because you can't find boss cards and so on from it, but it's kind of the purpose it has right now. It just print all kinds of random cards.
Yeah.
It gives you tons of everything. Like literally just looting inventory of cards, and any card that exists that gives you a currency, like GCPs or Chaos, you now have a ton of. You can farm anything with this.
Yeah, pretty much. What I did use it for was printing the blue jewel cards, since Adorn is so insane.
Yeah.
Like I printed like so many vivid jewels. Like I rolled all of them pretty much with just creation Scarabs.
And you got one Adorn jewel. One quality
3.
jewel. Wow.
3.
I did a couple hundred of those sets, and my hands. I was auging and then annulling in the trade window to just try to make jewels. They're so rough making Adorn jewels.
That's what I've been doing while I'm AFK blighting. Is just rolling Adorn jewels.
Yep.
Might as well.
Make one decent a week.
Will survive next league?
No.
I hope not. I hope not, man.
I don't know. It's hard to say. It's I think if they just made it 25 to 125, it'd probably be okay enough. But even like I'm using my best Adorn is 98%, and it's good. And it's still good. So if you had a 150, it'd be crazy. But
I mean, I think those kind of uniques are super cool for the game, though, right? There's a complete new way of itemization. Like, who has min-max like magic jewels before,
Correct. However, I do feel like almost all roads lead to Adorned.
Yeah, of course, I agree. It's too powerful.
But I don't really know if that's a problem, honestly. Like, just to play devil's advocate, because that kind of exists and has for years, where it's like you could broaden the spectrum of that sentence to all road leads to, running a build that has 10 different unique jewels, then has like, voices and whatnot. Like that's always kind of been the case. So it's not like it's any different now. It's just a new enemy. The enemy is now magic jewels. I don't feel like that's a problem. Like it's pretty rare. Like it's not like it's that common to make Adorns. I mean, and even then, like if you literally get below average, it's a dud. So I like how it has you doing other content, hypothetically, because realistically, getting one from Valing and chancing side zones is like not gonna happen. So like,
I just like how much impact it has, right? They
big.
added one extra unique, and suddenly you have diff cards that are relevant, like these magic jewel diff cards, and you want to suddenly Hinacross lock blue jewels, and like all of these things are now
the
a relevant
economic
thing in the game.
Juice. It's just really lit a fire under like the little poor man's ass, because it's just you could pick up a little jewel and roll and make 5 div.
True.
Like that's great, I think.
Well, it's a bit like when they added recombinators, and suddenly all kinds of weird items that ignored for years are now useful, like random temple incursion items and so on, right? It's a bit like that, where suddenly diff cards that a year ago we were wondering, why does this card exist? Why is there a card for like a blue jewel? Like, who the hell needs this? Like, why does this exist? And suddenly it's the most meta card in the game almost, right?
Yeah. I just if they just lowered the top end a little bit, I think it'd be fine. Just like a little little slap.
I think you're right.
125.
Honestly, I think I'm like too antagonistic against it, but like I think 125 would be okay.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, even if it was at like if it just said 100% and then there was no variance, like, and they made it a boss drop, I think that'd be okay too. Like, there's definitely ways they could change it, but also retaining its value, like doubling because the whole idea is that whatever the 2 things you want to do on a jewel, it's going to do that, but twice as good for the most part. And then the reason it starts to get fucky is because the implicits. That's where it gets real wonky with like synth things and corrupted things. But that's also the identity of the item. So I don't think they could really make it so, like, if they made it says doubles the explicit values of the jewel and not just, and then it didn't touch the implicits, I don't know, it would kind of ruin the identity of the jewel for me, because I think that's part of the fun, is like trying to get all the, collect them all on your Adorn set, where it's like, I want to get chill and shock, and then, that sort of stuff makes it kind of more fun. So if you remove that, it would just kind of be too vanilla for, like, It also makes like synthing jewels, it then becomes cool, which means harvest becomes cooler. You could, so like just a little bit off the top. It needs a low taper fade. Gotta get a little cut, and that's good to go.
I don't think it would be hated at all if alt spamming wasn't so damn annoying and bad, right?
Yeah.
I feel like the main reason why it's not liked, or the Adorned is complained about, is that you end up spamming like 10,000 alts for a set of Adorned jewels.
But that's only a solo self-fund way, I think, because if you're in trade, you would just do div cards, or you would.
I've seen people do it in trade too, and then complain, I had to spam alts.
Yeah, but they're bitches. Like, there's ways you could do it that are like, if you split a rare jewel, it's a 25% chance it becomes perfect for Adorned, right?
Yeah, but then you don't have your synthesis implicit, right? Like,
you have to spam alts. There is no other way. Like in trading, especially, like in SSF, you can. Yeah.
They buy their perfect synthesized implicits, and then they have to alt spam them themselves.
Babies, all babies. Wah wah wah.
I don't know. I just dislike how powerful it is. Like, it just all roads, multi is just insane, and everyone wants multi, so every build will want more multi. So just the best way of scaling damage.
You're right. We should just make the endgame 2% amulet drops off of Uber bosses. That'll solve it all.
I mean, my problem with this was like always with like those things popping up is like, oh, this lets us scale crit multi on the top end builds too well, and like it's so exponential, and it's like those things always popped up, and like it's the same story as you're saying. It's like, oh, the next thing, right? But maybe it's time to fix the underlying issue.
I think, the other issue is the way the multi scales, I guess, in that regard. But like, I think that this is the healthiest version of the all roads lead to XYZ we've had, because it promotes so many different levels of the economy versus just, let me get these 6 different unique jewels that all cost 40 div because no one wants to fucking farm them. Like, that, I think, is the least healthy of, now I gotta get 8 magic jewels. That's gonna make, both the people who I'm buying it from are selling beasts, are selling synthesis things. They're selling, it could be just some guy who just made a jewel on after his 2 hours of playing. Like, it's the most, I think, economic injection across the board is the Adorned economy. And I think that makes it the healthiest.
I mean, yeah, you're probably right. It just, for me, is a bit too generic. Like, it's like this, people play the same build, but with different skills. And like,
it's definitely like
variations.
In SSF, I would say it's it promotes build diversity because on the road to crafting fire dot multi life jewels, if I hit fizz dot, if I hit chaos dot, if I hit life or ES plus a stat, I'm also valuing those. And if I were to get to 8 of those, I probably would make a new build with those because I have the jewels for them now. So like for me, it's going to be the opposite where I'm going to like look into different avenues of different builds because it's like, well, I got, all these nice Adorn jewels. I may as well make a cool stat stacking build over here or do something else. So in that regard, it's promoting diversity.
I think it's just bad for Trade League, in my opinion. Like in the current state, like it's just not it.
But I think it's like
cut the skin off and you end up with a light.
Listen, the worst thing for Trade League is Trade League players. So if we can get rid of those, I think we're off to a good start. I've said it. This is like what I'm about to say is totally out of our depths, but I saw there some people are made a bulk like a TFT, but not full of assholes, right? And through like Maxroll and with some streamer people, I think like Tuna was doing it or something else, or Sushi. I don't remember. I don't know these people's names. They're all just Japanese food. I don't know, but they made some sort of TFT, but like ethical. What do you guys think about that? As far as like we don't trade or interact with those sort of people, but like it's the whole concept of like an auction house in PoE or something like that. Do you think this is like a step in the right direction because it's technically still a third party website, or should just like everything should be run through GGG? I'm curious to hear your guys' thoughts.
Just unnecessary evil, probably, right? Like,
yeah.
Either there's just too many items in this game to really easily trade with like an official website. It's just so much like effort, I guess. Like there needs to be, you can't really sell these services in an official way, right? Because there needs to be moderation and so on, and there's no way GG will ever provide that. Yeah. Like when someone scams like a service, right? You have to manually moderate that somehow. Yeah. And there's no way GG will ever do that. So as long as these services have to exist, the best they can do is itemize as many things as possible so they're easily tradable.
Yeah.
Safely.
Itemize the world. Easy, you're gonna say something?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think whatever makes the game, if you want to use it, use it. If you don't want to use it, maybe be less efficient and don't use it. I mean, I'm not saying that any of those systems are perfect, but I mean, if it makes your gameplay better because you can go buy these things or safer, whatever. I think it's all fine. I mean, I'm not saying it's the best, but if you don't want to do it, then don't do it.
Yeah,
I agree with the Manny's comment on the moderation part too, because there's no way GGG would ever do that, and there is a lot that goes into the moderation of something like a TFT.
Yeah,
right?
It seems like it's a real impossible task.
I mean, I couldn't.
Almost.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't imagine that's trying to moderate like a 500,000 person Discord or something. That sounds terrible, and then try to be a startup Discord. I mean, that does the same thing. That's 50,000 people. That seems like it would be a daunting task too.
I think they're doing a website through Maxroll, so it's gonna I think all be on a website, but then it's still obviously everything is human moderated.
It's not really like affiliated with Maxroll. So what it is actually is they are just hosting through. Yeah, I actually did hear Tuna like talk about it and like interact with him as well a bit about it. They're only hosting through Maxroll, so that's why the Maxroll brand is there, because it's just hosting through it. It's just very well like optimized backend and front end for them. So they have they are affiliated with Maxroll, so it's just good for them to like use their services in a sense.
Makes sense.
So that's why it has the Maxroll part. I mean, the underlying idea behind this thing is just they cut the middleman, cut the fleecing Discord idiots that they charge you on like bulk services and like just homies trading with each other and like people just using things. So and it just done through the API, right? So it's pulling the data from the API. It's straight away, like it's not pulling from different sources, like kind of PoE Ninja-esque wise to like monitor the economy, right? And it just people can sign up for it and like just trade through it, right? So you don't have to trade through Discord. It just pretty well, like shown, and it's pretty transparent in a sense. So like there's less shadiness compared to it, and it's just to be less cumbersome because GGG doesn't want to change things for now. So we have to do the things right. So that's the idea behind it, which I think is fine. Like and people behind it are also like they play the game, right? Especially like Tuna.
That's the one thing I saw was it's being endorsed by like credible people.
Yeah, exactly. Credible people that they want to use this thing, right? They actually want to use this thing. And another little tidbit is like it's programmed by some just person behind the Excellence, I think. And it's a good dev, like it's just passionate person behind it. So it's well done, I think, from what I've seen. I did check out the site so to know what it is. So I think it's well done, and it's with good intentions. That's the most important part for me, because like I think TFT is straight up bad intention place to like fucking RMT things, and we know that.
Do you think some sort of hybrid idea? So Manni mentioned the more itemizing, the better. Which means Manni loves Veiled Orb change, confirmed. But do you think that? We'll talk about that in a second, also, because I know you guys did a lot of Betrayal on launch. Do you think that the concept of itemize anything that can be, and then do something like an auction house would be maybe the only way to totally cut out obviously market manipulation would still occur because people would still change pricing and stuff, obviously, assuming it was like a WoW auction house type thing. But do you think that type of thing would be the only way to truly have it so there's like no human intervention? I'm curious what your thoughts on that as far as itemizing goes.
In my opinion, I think we should itemize as many things as we can, like within reason. I think that cuts a lot of bullshit from like all those shady deals. So in my opinion, I agree with Manni on that front.
Easy?
I don't really know what to say,
Manni?
really.
Yeah. Same. I mean,
I just don't really care, right? It's just not something that I interact with.
Yep. Rude boy.
I'm kind of just a spectator, and I feel the pain sometimes when I see like how annoying stuff like this is, like having to go on a Discord to like trade shit and so on. But luckily, I avoid everything. But
what, like once a league, actually probably more like once a year, I'll play like trade for a week, and I always forget how much friction there is in every aspect of trading until I try to do it again, and then like I'm whispering 30 people to buy one regret, and it's like, all right, this is wild. I always forget. Back to SSF I go. It'd be cool to see something. Yeah,
I'll report back next league if I might start trade league.
You dabble? Dabble a little bit?
I might dabble in some trade league.
Oh my god! Wow, an official dabbler on the loose.
Just get all the mirrors.
Yeah,
so that skin transfer them.
Not for anything, but I do feel like Trade League every year looks easier and easier. Not to insult Trade League players, but like when you look, with the amount of SSF we play, it's like, man, wouldn't it be easy if we could just convert this into that and do this and that? It's like, wow. But it would just change the benchmark.
Wait, SSF is the same though, right? Like,
oh yeah.
Not that I want to convert anyone to SSF, but every league I feel like it gets quote unquote easier and less grindy, and changes are made in favor of SSF a lot. Like, just look at the 17s.
Yep.
With their target farmability. Like, it almost feels like whoever designed this is an SSF player. Like making every 16 drop exactly 117, and then they're favored towards 3 bosses and so on.
It does feel like the benchmarks get changed also. It's not like it's easier in the sense that, it's easier to get to the same place we were before, maybe, on average, but then there's just more to get to, typically. So I think ultimately it probably evens out. But like in a grand sense, it's definitely easier than it was, pre-Atlas Tree or whatever, or that sort of stuff. But like there's just the benchmark gets moved. Even for trade, like in Trade League, it's not just like get invitations done, get favorites done, game over. It's like, oh, now I got to start working towards like mirroring gear and stuff like that. The benchmark and that also just comes with like whoever's playing and your experience as well. Like if it's your first league, your next league is going to be totally different, and then the one after that's going to be like totally different probably.
I had exactly the same.
Yeah.
When you just said about like people actually realistically mirror gear now,
Yeah.
Remember how rare it used to be like years
Oh,
ago
sure.
when I was
Yeah.
playing in Trade League, and now last league there wasn't there a bow mirrored like 2,000 times or something?
Oh yeah, yeah. There's a wand. There's a profane
it's
wand
absurd,
this league
right?
in Necropolis that's been mirrored. It's like a 6-link Squire wand, like a perfect shaper one. I looked at like 20 different profiles and they all had the exact same wand. So that wand is clearly getting mirrored to shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's good though. I think that's like definitely that's quintessential trade path, right? Is like, and it was always, I don't want to say totally inaccessible, but for the most part, totally inaccessible. The concept of, any Joe Schmo could like play enough and then mirror something was like out of the depths. It was to the point where, and this is like, I haven't played trade in a while, so this is going to sound extra dated, but we used to know all the names of the mirrored items, like by their names, like unironically, because it was like they were held to a level of infamy almost. So I think it's really funny that like it's just part of the normal gameplay loop to a degree now. That's like, all right, I have I got all my corruptions, I got my stuff. All right, time to start mirroring things. Like that's actually in the conversation. I think is really fun.
I think that's kind of was it Falcon's guide for a Magic Find bow build? You just one of the steps is just mirror bow and then mirror quiver. It's just like one of the steps,
Yep.
That's kind of normal nowadays. Like,
yeah,
it used to be unheard of, like to mirror an item, right? Like it used to be the top 10 ballers mirrored items. Maybe that's
exactly.
about it.
Yeah. So we mentioned earlier about itemizing stuff. And this is a bit of a going backwards, but I think it was Manni and Legi, both you guys started with Betrayal in mind this league, and it's not. How's the whole Veiled situation? Because I've heard not great, but
I guess I'll start with that.
Yeah,
because I was the person that was hopeful. I was like shooting for GG that that's gonna be good. It wasn't good.
Yeah,
it was fucking annoying, and it was so bad. I hated it, and like especially first week when we didn't have the good Necropolis, right?
Yeah.
Try to craft a boot, and oh god, it was worse than I expected.
The drop rate is terrible, or its functionality is problematic.
Okay. So it was the drop rate, right? Pretty much like so. They kind of nerfed the Katarina Scarab first of all, so like the intelligence Scarab, so you cannot like speed Katarina through the Scarab, like the intelligence Scarab first of all, and then it was, I think, either 10% drop rate or like even lower than 10% drop rate, and you know what happens with 10% drop rates, like when you get slightly unlucky,
high variance,
you're gonna get one orb per like 20 Katarinas, and that just wasn't it. And then you have to obviously hit another RNG layer on top of that, right? Which is actually hit your mod on, like, if it's not guaranteed, let's say.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I 180 on that really, really quickly. It was like really bad change overall in the first week of the league. It was just, I remember, dude, like
giving you non-flashbacks. Giving you Vietnam flashbacks over here.
An anecdote, like someone was saying, like in trade, like, oh, this Valor thing, it's like less than one divine, like day 3, day 4. I was like absolutely shocked.
Yeah.
How can this be like so cheap? There's no way it's so cheap with that drop rate. And like, now Valor is like 20 divines, something like that. So.
Do you think,
even after the buffs?
Do you think that because using a Veiled Orb obviously isn't a guaranteed result, and you could totally get milked on that process, if the Veiled Orb was just a 50-50 from Katarina, how offensive would that even be? Like,
wouldn't be offensive at all, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or even if it was guaranteed, because you could still whiff on 10 Veiled Orbs, right? In a row, like you could just keep losing the odds of you doing whatever you're trying to do.
My experience real quick with it was I did Betrayal 2 at the very start, and I think I went for like 3 for 3, so I didn't know why people were complaining in League, and then they apparently buffed it or something.
Oh my god, little cheater.
It's like, why is everyone complaining? This is fine. I'm literally batting 1,000.
Yeah.
Sorry, Legi.
My league set was like full Betrayal Atlas as well, and like the fact that it could spot every single map is really nice, right? It's a huge buff.
Yeah.
For early on when you don't have the missions yet. but I expected the Scarabs to be really good, right? Because I figured it's going to be, you know, Scarab Rework, Scarab League. It's going to be very important to get a lot of Scarabs, but the Scarab safe houses are very disappointing. And
yeah.
what's disappointing about them is that they don't scale much. Like a level 1 safe house, I think, gives you 3 Scarab, like a level 1 guy, and level 3 guy gives you like 5.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's 2 and 4, and then the level 4 guy gives 5. So there's almost like I didn't feel rewarded at all for like trying to min-max the level 3 guys in the safe houses, or like level 4 and
like take the time to invest to rank them up didn't seem worth it compared to just running more. Yeah.
Like that seems really poorly balanced right now. To the point where like people just call it the Katarina rush, right? You just get as many Katarinas done as possible, and everything's completely useless other than maybe Gravicious transport.
And just quick question. So if you were rushing Katarina, a lot of the points on the Atlas tree also don't necessarily benefit that, because one of them is more bargains, the other one is more equipment. So you would just have the ones that have additional rank. Is that the only one that really affects it?
Pretty much that, and then the Scarab to get like 150% more intelligence, and then you just interrogate people, run the safe houses. You know, you spend half the time running a safe house because you get so much intelligence in maps. You spend a lot of time just doing the Katarina roleplay fight over and over and over. Yeah. And not much time like actually setting up a board anymore. It's disappointing. I actually like Betrayal. It was one of my favorite mechanics in the past. It was always really fun to farm.
You feel like this change makes it so the incentive to invest in actually setting up a board than farming specific. So we'll say, you know, aside from trying to farm something like a Paradoxica, you know, if you're actually just trying to kill Katarina or getting loot from Betrayal, it makes more sense to just blitz through it and do as many Katarinas as possible. Yeah. That kind of just seems like it's in opposition with the entire point of Betrayal, which was working the board.
Yeah, it's a big downgrade, really.
Yeah.
Like, I would love if you would actually get good Scarabs from it.
Yeah.
Like, that would be cool.
Yeah, as Manni said, like was my favorite mechanic, like absolutely the best mechanic. I love Betrayal, but this patch I'm so sad what they did with it. Like it deleted like entire identity of playing with the board, and yeah, there's like no incentive. It's just let's say Harvest Scarab dude. I don't know who drops. I think it's Borichi. The Harvest Scarab dude gonna drop you at rank 4. Gonna drop you, I think, like 5 Scarabs, right? At rank 4 on Katarina.
Yep.
And probably like 3 of those cards gonna be absolutely useless because they're gonna be like the guaranteed harvest.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And there's a good chance all 5 of them are that one, really.
Yeah.
Yeah, or that exactly.
Lord willing. So. Do you so Betrayal? This has been a disappointing mechanic this league for you. What mechanic kind of was very surprisingly good this league for you guys?
Kind of all of them, really.
Well, except
almost
Betrayal.
Everything is insanely good when you have the Scarabs for it, right?
Yeah. Did anything like, you know, totally outshine your expectations? Where you're like, I didn't think this was going to be good, and this is the most fun thing I'm doing right now.
I didn't expect that Ultimatum would actually be a good way, like the Inscribed Ultimatum Scarab that turns Catalyst into Inscribed Ultimatums.
Yeah,
that's actually good, apparently. Like it's a good way to print Divine Ops, and it's actually good.
Yeah,
I didn't expect it to be good at all.
I got 60 in one day doing that Divines. That was the highlight of that day. It's well, just to clarify, it's 2 different Scarabs. There's one Scarab that says all the rewards are replaced by Catalyst, and the other one says all Catalysts are turned into Inscribed Ultimatums. So if you use them together, you just get, you know, 10 ways of Inscribed Ultimatums, of which there are tiers to be fair, but like the higher tier ones will give you those sweet Divines. It has been fun Ultimatum, you know, for the most part.
I'm kind of surprised how less of a pain it has Breach is. Like they made a lot of changes to Breach. It's still like a lot of picking up splinters, and like the Breachstone themselves are not as exciting as they were. But like from Breach being like absolutely dreadful mechanic that I would never do, it's like honestly fine. It's kind of nice. So that's my big surprise there.
Nice. Easy. Anything?
I haven't done Ritual. Sorry, one thing to mention. Like I haven't done Ritual yet, but I'm really excited to try out Ritual, like the reroll Scarabs. That's on my like back burner. I kind of want to try it.
I did that the first week because you get that what is it called? It's the selectiveness. That one is the most common, and every ritual without that, after using that, felt terrible. But I was like, that was like the the new benchmark for doing ritual. Having like 5 pages of free rerolls, even if you don't get anything, because it's probably going to be all be shit. It was just still so much fun. It's just like window shopping, basically. So you're just like, and not for nothing, but ritual, if you're looking for adorn jewels, is one of the best things I've ever seen. I would say 1 in 3 windows had a jewel that was a magic jewel, and almost always it was like life or ES or mana, and then no, like that's it. So that was super, super good for adorn jewels, and I don't want to say it's the best place in the game to get synth items, but it might be. Like,
it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is sad, I guess, you know, but
yeah.
And if it's not this, it's probably Heist, which is equally as sad. But yeah, this definitely made Ritual, because I did Ritual the League before, and it was like not really palatable. I always feel like I wanted to be good, and it always underperforms until like you get super lucky, but that's like an outlier. But this made it feel super, super fun. So would definitely recommend that. The other ones I kind of didn't really, both the other ones I didn't really care about. Like obviously the increased favor, sure, but like I don't know. Typically, I didn't feel like it mattered too much, but it was good. Definitely would recommend.
The increased favor means you get more options shown, right? Or what does it mean?
I don't know if it's real, but I always felt like it made it so you had a higher tier of like stuff. Like it showed like this is also what we thought when we first saw the one big ritual menu, which was hypothetically higher amounts of favor should have a higher skew to offer things that can be sold for higher amounts of favor.
Well, favored isn't tribute, right? There's a 2 different tribute.
Oh, sorry.
You're right. Tribute,
I was referring to
to spend.
Yeah.
I mean, the one that says rituals have 100% increased favor, it means you just get twice as many items offered, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, that's what
it is. Isn't that insane? So you have like 5 windows, and each of them are like tripled in how many items they have when you have 2 of those. So essentially you get like 15 rituals windows in one.
Yeah, and then all the free rolls.
Doesn't sound so bad.
Yeah, and they're all pretty common. Like, I mean, my distribution's not 100%, but basically it looks like it's almost like 3-to-1 from the top to bottom. Like even the rarest one isn't that rare. So you could definitely have some fun looking for some synth things. Could be good. Easy, you didn't answer any of the questions I asked.
I know. In regards to the new Scarabs, I'm so sorry.
Well, I could so, what's your favorite Scarab? What's your favorite mechanic? What's your favorite map? What's your favorite boss? I need everything.
Okay, Blight Scarab of the Blooming.
And why is that your favorite?
Because it gives you Ravaged Blight maps.
And why does that matter to you?
Because that's the last unique that I need to find is Stranglegasp. And
Yay.
That big change. I mean, think about how much time that saves. Like, it's insane. Because, like, you could run 3 or 4 regular Blight maps and maybe take you 10-15 minutes and maybe drop one. Because, like, then you have to weigh, like, do you do Lucky Chest or do you do Quicker Thing? And now you can just, like, farm, like, 4 or 5. Or I think I've gotten, like, 9 Ravaged Blight maps from a single map before.
He's wild.
Which is nuts.
And you're on, where is it? 527 Blight Ravage, no Stranglegasp.
Yeah, that's pretty unlucky.
Yeah.
Have you tried how crazy it is to farm split beasts now? Because I've been trying to hunt the imprint frogs and I've been getting split beasts left and right.
Ungodly amounts of split beast. Yeah, the scarab changes for that because like you used to like save up for like the copy beast, but the copy beast is great, and then you just put 10 more red maps and then you take all the beast nodes. Yeah, I mean you can farm a ridiculous amount of splits and imprints and stuff, but I do feel like I mean obviously split every Ravage.
You can even triple split a Ravage map, right? With the Black Morgan.
Yep.
I didn't think of that. I think until you said it on stream, I was like catching one of your streams, like, oh yeah, that could be a problem. I was like, holy shit, that's a great idea. And then ever since then, I mean, anyone else probably isn't triple splitting Blight Ravage maps. You'd probably want to use them for the maybe Hinocor's locks for Adorn Jewels, but with the last kind of push to wrap it up, it just makes sense to use all the Black Morgans for that.
I love Black Morgan.
You got this.
I think he's like the coolest, could be the coolest design Scarab they added. Like just the Swiss Army knife that also makes all other beasts relevant in a different way, because like him himself, even in trade, I think it's like 5 or 10 C for the Scarab. Not expensive, but then obviously all the things that links with are very expensive. But
what
like,
are you gonna say? It makes all the squares 6-linked, but I guess they didn't want to say that.
That's a whole other fucking can of worms. I mean,
6-link gray spires. Isn't gray spire the one that has no sockets?
Yeah, there's a lot. Any unique in the game, they pretty much have people have 6-linked artificially.
Yeah. Or the 4-link.
Speaking of bestiary,
yeah,
I'm so sad they didn't add anything for getting memory beasts, because they had a new Atlas passive too, right, for Einhard, which is just completely useless, it seems. And the Black Morrigan, I really hope they would add a rare Scarab or like an Atlas passive or anything that would somehow let you find those memory beasts, because that's still one of my biggest gripes right now, how bad that is designed. The fact that you have to get a random memory that can't be targeted in any way, and it's the only source of getting those beasts.
I haven't seen one in like 3 months of that exact one. I've seen tons of memories, but yeah.
I thought the same thing. I thought for sure that they would kind of like the way that they've like, depending on what you're doing, like being able to like fast track a lot of the league mechanics in certain ways. I definitely thought they would put some memory beast, maybe behind a Scarab, but nope.
Yeah,
I just got to get lucky.
Maybe next rework.
Yeah, I feel like they're waiting with like memory system to like do something with, like, that's even Mark in one of the interviews mentioned that you want to do something with the memories, like they are like not there yet. So maybe something like that, but we'll see. I
was really surprised. So this patch they removed the rare modifier that gives you a bunch of gem experience, right? And so like we just don't level gems as fast. And I was really expecting Black Morgan to have an option that would max a gems level, and it didn't. And I was kind of hoping they would add that at some point, because that'd be really cool also for like awakened gems. And that would also give value to the gem dog, if it was like a hybrid thing. That'd be a cool thing to add. It does 6 sockets, 6 links, so like it just kind of seemed like in line.
Yeah, I was trying to think. I was like, do they already have like a gem beast? Because like I always just
they do. Yeah, there's 2. There's a 123. There's a 21 and a 23. Yeah, they're both little dogs. Yeah, it'd be cool to add those. Would be cool.
Yeah, because the only other way is, again, gated behind the harvest beast. Which again, those harvest beasts are nice if you do, get the lucky awakened, enlightened, or in power drop. You could just, quick level it.
I was doing like the Uber harvest labs, and I was just feeding it level 4 empower and light enhances that I didn't need, and then using that experience in a lens to fucking level up awaken gems. It seemed like the fastest way. It was like a level, so it wasn't even that good, but
I mean, you get lab for that, so I guess that's true. You don't want to do anything with it.
Yeah. The lab change. Have you guys done much lab this league? Or just what you had to do,
Yeah.
That's kind of how it feels. Yeah, I still think the lab change is good, like ultimately, but definitely better than before. Like finding a specific trans gem to me feels much easier than finding a helm enchant, if that's the comparison. So I don't mind.
I do miss helm enchants though.
The power,
and boot enchants, really. Well, yeah.
Yeah.
I think a big part of why I enjoy my league so much is because I'm not doing anything out of maps this league. I'm not doing any lab farming. I'm not doing any heisting. I'm not doing any sanctum.
Yep.
I'm just having a great time in maps.
Yeah, mapping is great. Yeah, for sure.
It's fun.
Even in standard, it's better than ever feeling, just because of scarabs and then doing 17s.
Yeah, I think for me the most egregious thing was just the balance of 17s with like back to basics. Like as a person that cares about minimaxing stuff, and like a lot of people do care about that in this game, I think that is what's taking like most of enjoyment out of what I'm doing. But other than that, like I think long term, all those most changes from this patch are very good. Like there are like little tweaks that they need to do, and like it feels perfect. I think overall, even despite all those shenanigans happening with like mid league nerfs, things that didn't work as I hoped they would, I think honestly it was a positive change for the game, as much as I maybe disliked it at first.
Yep.
At least that's my take.
Wow, cook take from Legi confirmed.
The usual cook take, yeah.
Overdone, well done take. Yeah, what so we talked about a bunch of stuff. One thing we really haven't mentioned too much is what build everyone's playing currently, because that's, you know, kind of required to play the game. So we'll start with easy. I know that's you're gonna say the same thing you always say, but still, still
No,
say it.
well, I mean, I'm kind of cycling between 3 builds right now.
Oh, nice.
So, but again, it's nice because again, they're all just kind of set up from before. But again, like a big tornado shot guy, just to quickly get the T17s, then a big penance brand, a dissipation guy to just carelessly walk through the maps and then nuke the boss. And then for the Ravage Blight maps, I'm using like the old Stormbrand, like an old Stormbrand build that used to be like the Deep Delver that I took it to like 4K like 3 years ago and haven't really made any changes to it, and it still works. It's like tanky enough to, I mean, I changed it with like obviously with like Mage Blood and at least having positive res, but aside from that, it's just the exact same build as it was back then. And it's great because like Stormbrand way better clear than like Penance. And it just like chains and then like a legacy explode chest. So like it still gets like one shot sometimes, but for the most part it works great. So cycling between those 3 builds has been a lot of fun, and it kind of keeps it fresh too, right? So you're not just mapping tornado shot and then every build feels like it somewhat has a purpose and change of scenery or whatever.
For sure. Leggy?
Currently, I'm still playing my Lightning Arrow guy. Like, I finally unscuffed the character, so the character is pretty good. I got my my belt last week, Mage Blooders. So just mapping a bit on Lightning Arrow, and I have the CogDD character. And I really want to make one more character this league, since obviously I'm not playing standard, right? So since I got lucky yesterday, got Awaken Power 5 in SSF.
Jesus Christ.
Nice.
I'm like thinking about some kind of like caster, and also like maybe trying new Archmage, because that looks fun. Looks quite fun, and I got the gems for it as well. So like those are 2 things I want to try. And last thing to like top it off, maybe some kind of power charge stack. Like those are the 3 builds I'm interested as a 3rd build, right? But for now it's the flavor of the map, CogDD, Inquisitor, and then a bit of bow action as well.
Nice.
It's fun.
Quick interjection. Leggy, I really want to see either the strength stacker or something though. I know you played like a day or 2 of standard, like messing around in there. Like you should. I'd love to see your like fully min max like strength stacker or something, because I knew you were working on it.
I was so sad because I didn't realize I wanted to play Venom Jar like strength stacker in standard, because I have the weapon for Original Sin and the weapon that stacks fire damage per strength, right? But I didn't realize it was a sword. So
no,
I couldn't use Venom Jar. So it's like, oh, I have to play melee or something. I don't know, man.
The
maybe
ambidextrous dual strike is pretty cracked though for strength stacking.
Yeah, it is good, but the problem is I crafted the weapon with like attack speed and stuff. So like I have a bad suffix on it. It's like perfectly crafted for like actual attack speed with that main weapon. So it's kind of annoying.
I also had a strength stacker, so I was doing something similar, but I was initially cycloning, and I was trying out the volcanic fissure of snaking on a strength stacker, and it was pretty fun, but that was like May stuff. And then I was gonna do Venom Jar also, but then I realized that I thought I had a claw crafted, but I have it half crafted, so I have like tier 1 crit strikes, multi attack speed, and then just no prefixes, and I don't really feel like finishing it. So it's kind of in a similar boat. Strength. What would you gonna do, Berserker or what for strength stacking?
Probably Berserker.
Yeah.
Especially if you have the Forbidden Jewels for the other guy, the Juggernaut.
Other guy.
The thing is, though, I have a really insane that which was taken from the last league, and I can actually do Deadeye strength stacking with like a Warcry node, because I have a Warcry node on the thing. So
nice.
I could do Deadeye, so that's kind of exciting. But yeah, it's a bummer that I didn't realize I can't use the sword.
Yeah, I've been pretty much just playing the Fulcrum Chieftain because it just doesn't die. So it's just been It's been really fun just like doing like mechanics like 17s or Delve or Ultimatum where I could just, do like deep depths and like bossing and stuff, and I just sit there and tab out, and then I could just talk to chat or like hang out, eat snacks. Been enjoying that mostly.
Gummy bears.
Exactly, gummy worms for me. Yeah,
Gummy worms.
That's been fun.
Defiance of Destiny is a very balanced item.
It is an item. It's one of the items of all time. Yeah. I mean, I'm glad they made it T0 versus nerfing it, to be fair. God bless T0 items that are like really, really strong. I kind of wish they would have done the same for Alakesh, but it doesn't really matter too much. Like the 30 move speed's like a bummer, but it still kind of does what it has to do, so whatever. But yeah, I've been playing this build, and then I'm probably like during this podcast I farmed out like, I don't know, 15, 17 or something as we were just talking here, casually walking around, and I'll probably do those, and I'm going to do those on... I had a Hexblast built, a Hexblast Miner, on a Pathfinder, but it like kind of felt shitty, so I'm going to put him into a Cultist, because I feel like a Cultist is probably just better. But maybe Penance Brand? I don't know. I know that Easy was having some good times on Penance Brand single target, but I think that it kind of doesn't matter at that point. Like, they're both like, probably hundreds of millions of damage, so little redundant.
Penance Brand,
yeah.
Easy. Like, what kind of setup are you running? Because like I tried setting up a Penance Brand character in standard, and it like felt pretty bad. Like the cast speed felt kind of. So do you like set cast speed on every single piece of gear?
No. I mean, it honestly, it doesn't feel great. but it's well. I mean, but my thought process was, it's like, I just didn't want to like think about like building another build. Like, it works fine for those exact things that I wanted it to do. Like, so again, like all the Uber bosses obviously can just melt those down pretty brainlessly, and then the way I'm using it in T17s is phasing, running through. So there's definitely better builds. I'd probably have more fun with builds, but do I want to spend 2 hours, 5 hours, 10 hours, swapping gear out,
Fiddling,
trying to get it I was like, screw it. It does its purpose. I mean, and that's the same with the Stormbrand guy. I could definitely build that Stormbrand guy stronger. But it can do what I need it to do for right now. So, maybe once the unique farm's done, then I can actually like maybe think of a better build or play it a different way or uninstall the game or whatever is next, right?
You can play Bone Shadow Slayer, the best build in the game.
Yeah,
it's true.
I do have a sick Bone Shatter armor stacker back whenever the Trial Master was like the adorned pieces or whatever.
Yeah.
I went and cleaned up like all the Delve bosses from like a long time ago, and I needed a build that could just like not die, and I had a lot of fun with the old Bones Shatter of Trauma or whatever. I don't know if it works the same anymore.
I think it's like unplayable because they changed the quality, unfortunately. But yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, then I guess we won't play that. Yep. But we're close. I mean, bar the skill gem changing, right?
You just gotta get your 25,000 fire fractured body armor.
Oh yeah. Send that over from.
Yeah.
Rip it over from standard to SSF.
Bug abusers, be warned. You'll get your just desserts in 10 years. Eventually, we swear.
Yeah.
How many
money alone?
Sixling Squires did you guys make?
0.
0
Sixling.
I stayed ethical. I only made a Jano box pillar to test it.
Yeah. That was anything I did there would have been -1 Ravage Blight map because you couldn't triple split. So I was like, and they're probably going to get nerfed anyways, right?
I better hope so. Yeah.
I
made a Sibyl's bow.
At best, they're gonna stay some weird souvenir items in standard.
Yeah.
They're not gonna.
Yeah.
Like, chances are you can save them by putting them on your curse and stuff like that, right? Like these weird things, but then you can't actually use them if you protect them against the fix.
Yeah.
So
I think someone said, like, or I read, like, people were putting them in those gift boxes or something.
Yep.
It's just funny how many memes.
I'm sure you're gonna find some way to do it. Yeah.
Dude, I've seen some disgusting items like 6-socket and 6-link. Like people made like perfect Crucible 3 items 6-linked, and I low-key hope they just delete them.
I hope they do.
Funny.
Anyone who is selling them or mirroring them, there should be probably some repercussions there. Like for basically scamming people, I guess, if whatever. I don't know. The whole thing's missing.
I think there was a guy that that made like the big like Fizzbow, and like he just like re-rolled the heist implicit for like 15% fizz instead of 8. And I think he put a disclaimer before mirroring like you could get screwed and this could get reverted.
Purchase at no refunds. Big no refunds sign.
Yeah.
Are you coming back to the temporary league, Lighty? Are you coming back to Necropolis, or are you just gonna?
I want to get Hateforge, and I think after Hateforge, I think I want to do. I think I'm gonna do all of Lab because I'm still missing 2 Lab jewels. But that might make me want to commit, so I might want to HMO1 myself there. So let's maybe don't do that, but we'll see. I do want to make a Fractured Shaper wand, like a Profane wand with like, socketed 40% and cast and that sort of stuff. But that also could drive me mad. I don't know how.
Those are not so bad. They're 1 in 8. I made exactly that.
Yeah.
You could even go for the triple fracture. Right?
No, I would triple fracture. Yeah, I would want to.
Wait, then it's a lot worse than 1 in 8. I went for spell crit and 40% more spell damage. That was 1 in 8.
I saw one that was a 1 in 4. I found one on Craft of Exile. Like I was fiddling with it, but it
1 in 4.
Yeah, but the problem is, even if you got it down to that, I think I would still want to hold until I had like 4 or 5 additional items with increased effect, because I figure I'm just gonna do that once and then I'm not gonna want to do it again. It's like I want to give it as many attempts as possible.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta find like a balance in the layout. If you use too many additional items and boost them, then you don't have space to fit in all of the
there was
and increase you need.
There was a 1 in 4 that had, I think it was 60, 68 or 70 corpses. So there was enough wiggle room to put on a few additionals. But it's like...
These additional items are insanely rare, though. Like, you're probably better off just farming the whole rest of the graveyard again before you find, like, 1 or 2 additional items.
Yeah. I mean, I want to fracture the 40% spell crit and then the faster casting, I think, of the 3 Shaper mods. And then get, like, Lightning Pen and then crit damage and then put on +2 socketed, or +2 support for Awakened Echo.
I made almost that. Minus the faster casting because I play Blade Vortex.
I was doing it for Spark, Archmage Spark with Squire. That seemed like a cool build to make, just because I've never used Nimbus and I really wanted to use Nimbus for something, and it seemed like a fun thing to use it on. But yeah, something like that maybe. I don't know. It's Hateforge first. I'm gonna probably want to make something with Hateforge that's gonna be beyond mediocre, because I don't think it's like in a great state right now. I don't think I even have a great Triumvirate to make it work really well. I feel like I'd want to probably do a build that uses Hateforge's Triumvirate. I don't know if that's the best thing, but it feels pretty cool. Wish I had a 6-link Triumvirate. That'd be great. That was the real... when I saw the 6-link stuff, I was really hoping to see a 6-link Crested Desire. And someone said that you couldn't do it because it's ID'd, but then someone else was like, wait a second, the one from the Valdos drops on ID'd.
Apparently there is one.
It's because Valdo's box crest is un-ID'd, so you could do the thing with it. Yeah. Apparently, which is like.
But the question was, does it actually exist, right?
There was someone said they had a link set up where it was Awakened and Lighten in there with 3 auras, and they were like immortal, and it was crazy. And it's like free. Everything was so free.
Wait, so is it level 13 in Lighten then?
Yeah, Awakened and Lighten. Yeah, whatever. Yeah, but that's just like
level 13.
Really goofing around, Part of me is like, if they're gonna nuke them, I kind of wish they did it. Like, just don't even, just let it exist for the league, and then just nuke all. Like, I don't think any bug damage should exist in the game, full stop. Personally, and I think that if you're gonna nuke them, you should nuke them. But I'm always the biggest proponent of like, if goofy shit's gonna happen in leagues are temporary. I don't really see the big deal, like, to be honest, ever, of like builds being too strong or whatever in leagues. It's like, it's a temporary state, and either they care about standard or they don't. Like, it feels like it's always a mixed message. If they like they'll nerf some things, but they won't nerf other things, or like things will, like the fractured fire-based thing exists, right? But like they'll hopping on other nerfs. So I don't know. It's weird. It's a bit of a mixed bag. Definitely cool.
I just hope they just delete those items.
Same, yeah.
As a like final, you know.
A big old fuck you to everyone.
I thought they
people
were.
that abused.
I really thought they were when I first read the notes or whatever, but then it said like then it came back and I think clarified, or I've misread. It's like the gems are at risk of getting deleted that are inside your items, not the actual item.
From a technical standpoint, I don't actually know how they would like. Is there like a command they could send out that like sets all things to maximum potential links? Like, how do they even fix that? Because it's not like it's just, you know, if it was like one bug unique, that seems like it's a linear thing to fix. But this is like you're talking hundreds of different types of items, right, are being affected by this. So like I don't even know how you go about fixing this from like a development standpoint. Because it's like helmets, swords, you know, two hands, body armors. It's like so many things were. One of my favorites was the Delve helmet, the Crystal King helmet with 4 links. Is super goofy looking. I think had a lot of cool stuff on it. Tons of flat damage.
Right, just database stuff, right?
But imagine if this happened in like week 1, dude. That would have been a mess and a disaster.
A fucking rollback. Would have been a rollback, baby.
At this point, obviously, balance isn't a big deal. Like you can tell by the fact that you can, you know, get legacy race rewards.
Yep.
4 weeks into the league, they unlock, and you know people can bring out their mirror-worthy mega old items into the game. Anyway, but yeah, if this happened, if people figured this out on League Start, it would have been such a mess. They already dodged the bullet there.
Yep. God bless. Yeah. All right. Well, what do you guys have planned? So Easy, you're doing Blight Ravage, right? Until your head falls off.
That's it.
That's your thing. Legi, what's your dealio?
Well, I'm on hour 6 of burning maps today. Found 6 seers and 3 divine, like 3 big altar lanterns. So
yeah,
still no melding. Good stuff. Good stuff.
Well, there you go.
I'm looking for melding of the flesh.
That's a what, 2% drop, or what is it?
Yeah, the classic Legi lucky 2%.
I mean, they removed Omni being a 2%er, right? So Legi needs to find a new 2% drop to change.
Yeah, exactly. I cannot go like this without, you know, fucking myself.
And you want to use that for what? What build do you want to use it for? Sorry, I don't know if I already answered that.
For custom crit DD, I have like everything crafted. It just need melding for 90 res.
What else do you like? What do you what's the other stuff to make that work? Like aside from the melding, like what else are you using with that to give you 90 res?
I mean, pretty much just check Manni's character. I'm gonna say that because
give me homework. Come on.
Yes, I'm gonna pretty much copying the Manni's.
You're getting 9 resistance from the Topaz Flask now, right? After they changed that from Mage Blood.
Yep.
So the Topaz Flask gives you 9 max res. The Purity of Lightning gives you 7 when you get 40% aura effect on it.
And how are you getting 40% aura effects?
From the passive tree.
Okay.
There's nothing too crazy about it.
All right.
And then you're missing like exactly 3, so that's 1 suffix on the shield.
Yep.
To get to 90, including a melding.
So Mage Blood, Flask, Purity, stuff. Plus melding.
Or just have legacy melding like you probably do, and like skip something.
Do I even have legacy melding?
Yeah. If you can pick up 5 flask effect on like Ranger start, you can get 10 from the flask even. It's pretty silly.
Yeah.
And then you just need like another 9 with melding or 5 with legacy melding, I guess.
Easy
pretty
peasy.
Silly.
Yeah, melding real good. Melding about as strong as a chieftain. Yeah.
It's pretty much as soon as you get a Mage Blood, we're gonna be hunting for melding every time, right? Mage Blood enables melding so well now.
You could also
that's why we.
Sorry, keep going.
Yeah, that's why we're excited about good at most, because at most lets you skip melding, pretty much. And like a lot of setups, so it's quite exciting. Like not having minus X res, like minus 240 res or something like that.
Also, just depending on the build, you could play a build that uses like an Aegis Aurora or something else. There's like a lot of options for getting,
Yeah.
I mean, Rise of the Phoenix ain't that bad either, especially after Affliction League, all those corruptions. Although I like Dawnbreaker. I will say that, especially looking at all the boss distribution for loot, I do feel like Dawnbreaker has become my favorite shield in the game.
Yeah, I think that
real good.
normal Exarch is a real winner.
Yeah. Dawnbreaker real good. Double corrupt the shit out of them. And then I guess I would say my plans was just ultimatum until
period. That's it.
until I'm done with ultimatum. Hopefully it's
we'll
this
join
league.
you soon. I need the boots as well.
The boots don't seem too bad. Yeah, it's not too bad. It's
yeah, but I have way less tolerance for these boring as hell AFK
yeah.
grinds.
Well, to be fair, I've been playing RuneScape while also doing ultimatum. That's been great. I was also running simulacrums, and this build can almost run simulacrums. There's a bit of a problem you face when you spawn a Kosis on wave like 25 plus, and I can't break his ES. But, aside from that, it's pretty chill.
That's when you log out and bring the glass cannon
character.
That
is, I did log out and bring in the Hex Blaster, yes, and one-shot it. Yeah, that's been I haven't played a miner or trapper like in a while, and I just kind of forget how much like fuck you single target they have like traditionally, where it's just like, oh man, you just like lay out all the goods, and then that's actually one build I really wanted to make if I ever start doing like bossing this league. I kind of want to play the explosive trap Slayer with like the 20% call and has like it's wearing full uniques at all, just like the charge uniques. That build looked really funny. So it has like I think 11 or 12 of like every charge, which just seemed fun, and having 20% call. But yeah.
And you change all of them to mirrors from the MTX if you have.
Oh yeah, you could. Well, I've never found a mirror still, and for
Oh no, really?
No. But don't forget, during Affliction League, I never found a Headhunter or a Mage Blood or a mirror. And to be fair, yeah.
Sounds like a skill issue.
It does and I was just every single day I was MFing. 800 divines, but I couldn't get a mirror. One day TM.
Speaking of 800 divines, I'm pretty excited to buy the pilfering ring for next league. Now that we can buy that without gambling.
Yeah. What do you guys think about that? Because as a concept, I don't like if you were to tell me like we have these statistics and you can't have them unless you pay for them, that's a little strange to me a little bit.
Yeah.
Because
I don't like it. I'm not paid to win.
There's like, and that's like one dimension of it, and there's like a lot more things like that. I mean, we've talked previously about like the single portal thing, or like there's the Diamond Flask MTX that tells you where the boss is, which is kind of cool for something. I mean, it's like could be useful, but like definitely the metric stuff, like how long you've been in the map. I'm honestly surprised. Like so we have slash remaining, right, which obviously has existed forever, and then the top right it tells you how many monsters remain. It tells you the map is cleared. Like it very well that could have been an MTX. Like how many monsters left in the map. Like I could see that being in line with how long.
The only thing that I think is actually paid to win, because there's no way to do it manually. Like you can track your time and stuff manually, right? You can track how many divine ups you find manually, but you cannot track how many unique and rare monsters you kill in the map manually.
Yeah,
it's just you can't see that, right, visually when you do like crazy content, and you can only really guess. But there's actually an MTX that tells you exactly how many rares you've killed or how many uniques you've killed, which is actually good information if you're trying to assess how good your strategy is. Like different strategies, comparing them and so on. That one is
how many blues as well, right? Like you can see how many blue monsters you kill as well, which is pretty important. Like Alva and stuff, right?
Especially this league, because of we were just talking earlier about the whole thing where it's like all monsters are magic, and then increasing magic, and then like kind of deciding if you want to invest in killing magic mobs or rare mobs or whatever. It seems like it's definitely relevant information.
Yeah, I hate it as well. Like it shouldn't be paid, but
I would.
The sad part is also that you can't even buy it for like $10 real quick. It's like the $480 a porter pack or something. Like it's
that
really,
is
kind of cringe.
What I would really prefer, so like other games have had what I'm about to describe, which is like a subscription based service or like a one-time fee, where like you pay like $30 and then it's just like a whole suite of metric tracking statistics for the game. So like other games have had that, something similar.
Yeah,
I would rather just I would pay right now $30 in a heartbeat, like in a second, to just be like, all right, here's every single metric that you could glean, and then if we ever add them going forward, we'll add them to this suite of tools.
Hell yeah, yeah.
Like,
I'm a huge nerd for statistics
Yeah.
and like numbers and shit. I would love to look at how many monsters I killed and everything.
But I bet you that's probably less profitable than locking it behind gambling boxes. So that checks out, you know. What are you gonna do?
It is.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, literally, I'm against all of that. Like, I'm disgusted that they like locking all those things behind MTX, but I literally bought the pilfering ring instantly. So
definitely good to know. Yeah. So it tracks. It doesn't track when you pick up. It tracks what drops.
I think you have to pick it up. Right?
Okay. I think that
you have to pick it up. Yes.
Man, that'd be so much more funny if it tracked what dropped, and then you just checked your ring a week later and you saw a mirror, and then you're like, wait a second, you know. That'd be hilarious.
And it's kind of bound to the character, and it has to like drop like as a new entity, right? So you can like drop thing, pick it up, drop thing, pick it up. It has to drop from the monster, and you have to pick it up. And like it was kind of annoying because I had that ring on my Templar, and like I got the like 2 lanterns, and it's not tracked by the ring itself because it was on the rogue character. So it's kind of annoying. I didn't think it's gonna work like that.
You gotta swap every time, right? When you swap characters. So it's awkward for people that play multiple builds back to back. Most people don't do, right? Most people go play only one character and then they swap to a different character full time.
Yep.
I think we're kind of the minority, like playing 2 characters simultaneously.
Yeah, pretty much.
I don't know. I disagree. I feel like especially it's gotten more to the point where people make one character for doing. Hello. Hi, Izzy.
Hey, sorry. Hey.
Hello. Anyway, it was more to the point where it's like you make a mapper than a bosser, because I feel like it's kind of more efficient to do that in a way. Like I think that's not like as foreign as a concept anymore, or like maybe one character to do lab or one character to do a type of thing.
I disagree. I think a lot of people just make look for an all-round character that like does everything, and they just play that character. I think that's what trading is usually nowadays.
Yeah, I guess if you're in trade, it'd be easier also, maybe. But to be fair, like this league, there's a lot of builds that are pretty strong all-arounders, especially with like the Detonate Dead in its 9 different forms. I think that's. What do you think is an appropriate nerf to Detonate Dead, and do you think it needs one? I mean, I think just even if they nerfed it by 1%, I think that'd be something. But do you think that's appropriate? Do you think it's needed?
Kind of hard to tell, because it's been like it is power level for a long time actually, and it hasn't really been popular outside of hardcore SSF really.
Yeah.
It's just that now that there's a custom crit version, it became like mainstream popular. And does that mean it's now powerful, right? Are we balancing around actual power, or are we balancing around popularity?
I think historically it's always been popularity. They balance around.
Yeah, because then it obviously has to be nerfed because it was too popular now.
How would you nerf it?
Probably just damage number wise, like how much corpse life it deals, right? I think it's like 5% of the corpse life. They could just become like 3 or 4, or instead of chaining 5 times, it could chain only 3 times, or it chains 8 times, right? I guess they could lower
the chaining one, yeah. Well, do you think the chaining one's the only problem? Because if the Ignite version is not used, doesn't really use chaining. They use typically the original.
They just need to lower the number of all DDs. Really, they even buffed it indirectly this league with the new corpses, right? They didn't even think of that. They just kind of. Remember during the Q&A, they were like, "Oh yeah, I guess we kind of buffed DD this league. We didn't even notice." Like, I don't think balance was really their main focus this league, right? They had so many other things on their plate. Yeah. They probably did like a 1-hour brainstorming of balance change, and that was it pretty much. So fingers crossed we're gonna get like an actual balance league eventually soon, where the main focus is just balancing things.
Yep.
Yeah. Surely. I would love for volatile, like, because the problem with like, you would never play Volatile Dead unless for some reason you weren't allowed to play Detonate Dead. I feel like, and I would love to play Volatile because it's like ultimate lazy person build, right? It literally heat seeks and then it detonates and proliferates. Like, it's all the things I want in life, but I would love to play that, but it always feels like, oh, why would I play, Volatile if I could play Detonate Dead when it has like 3 times the damage numbers? So I think it'd be a healthy distribution, because the concept of corpse detonation, I think, is really cool, right? It harkens back to like the original 2-stage skill type thing. And I think 2-stage skills inherently were always really interesting in the concept of like, if I click 2 buttons to do one thing, it should be inherently stronger than, it should be twice as strong as doing the 1-button thing. And like that was like what Bladefall, Blade Blast was like one of the original, like the progenitors of that archetype. I think Detonate Dead was really cool for that as well, but it's just kind of gotten to the point where, like you're saying, this league it's more streamlined because it's COC, so it's like everyone who wouldn't want to inherently play a 2-stage is like, wait a second, I could push 1 button and do all the things. Now we're talking, So maybe if the COC version, like, if they could just say something like COC can't support, or like corpse abilities can't be triggered like that, maybe that'll be a fix in itself.
I mean, you kind of pay a penalty already by... You lose a lot of links, right? Because you have to link Desecrate into the cast and crit as well.
Yep.
Like, essentially, it's like a free link only, really.
It really just goes to show how strong it is, though. The fact it's on a 3 link, it's still cruising.
Exactly. If you just load the numbers, I think it kind of regulates itself.
For sure.
But I'm not the balance specialist.
Yeah, you are.
For them to do.
Yeah, you are. You're the.
I really hope they're not gonna do stuff like base cast speed nerfs or like stuff like that, and like it just needs to be like just numbers, like damage goes down. Because
that's what killed Sunder, like that sort of stuff, where it's like, or Tornado Shot. It's like the feel nerf is the worst nerf. You know.
I hate it.
Yeah. It is a very great feeling build, the cast and crit Inquisitor. Like, it's so smooth to play. Very enjoyable.
I'll be the counterpoint. I don't think it is smooth until you have a certain like an appropriate level of gear. And I can tell you this because
no, not at all.
I leveled with it from 50 because I'm a crazy person, right? I put like part of like obviously you should never do that. You should play like whatever armor brand until 75, then swap. But the benefit of playing a build the legally first moment you could do it is you feel every point and pivot of power increase, right? And I can tell you that build doesn't operate until you have a certain level of attack speed and crit rate. And then,
yeah, of course, really the cast and crit build needs 100% crit, yeah.
Yeah, well, and the hits can't be evaded weapon was a big one also. Like, before that, it felt real poopy to me. But definitely, like, once you're starting to get, like, in the 80s, that's when it was, like, really popping off. But it didn't, I don't think it feels inherently any stronger than any other, like, COC build I've played historically. Like, I mean, I played, like, the Ice Nova ones. I played the old Shatter Chunk build, like, back in the day. Like, all those they kind of just felt like it's the same thing where you point in a direction and everything in that direction's dead. Like, that kind of feels the same. So I don't think it's like... but this one is particularly tanky, I would say, is the one that's the main focus. I mean, that might just be a feeling that's exacerbated by the fact that we're doing 17s, right? Like, because you need to feel...
The base damage of that skill is just so high that he can go full defensive auras and everything, and it's still good.
Yeah. Yep.
I was kind of worried that the build would just be a league starter and kind of fall off, because that's usually what DD is, right? It's just not that well to scale, but I've been playing it for 4 weeks now, 5 weeks almost, and yeah, I'm still upgrading. Just yesterday I made another upgrade. I'm on like Mage Blood level now, and it's still fun to upgrade it anymore. Like we still haven't hit the ceiling yet, which is fun.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of potential for sure. I guess also because it's not a dot build. You're not tethered by the dot cap in that regard. Also, that normally DD would be you're capped at the 36 mil or whatever effectively. This one just goes right through that because you're a hit based. Did you say, Manni, what your plans were as far as like the next week or so?
I didn't know. When I've played my 2 characters. I have the Inquisitor for the 17s and Ubis, and then I have made a Blade Vortex character to run tier 16s to find more 17s. And I've been doing that cycle pretty much for the last week or 2 already, and I'm gonna continue doing it because my goal is to find an Utmost and a Maven wand. You know, the wand that Ease found just earlier, just before the podcast started. The 1 in 100, maybe 1 in 200, something like that, drop from Ubermaven. So,
and that must be best in slot, that one, right? That must be the best one in the game.
It's absolutely
surely
insane.
It's not a piece of shit. Yeah, the rarest drop from any Uber in the game.
Oh yeah. So I'm kind of at the point where I'm pretty much done upgrading my builds. The progression part is pretty much over. I'm just pretty much just mapping and farming Übermaven until I burn out now. I do have a private league planned for later this league.
Okay.
Where like a group self-found with my community where we try to collect all uniques together.
Nice.
Just like we have done that twice before, and it's been great fun. So if the new Scarab
should be
system
pretty easy this league. Yeah, it's probably the easiest one ever.
No, I don't think. The global
bar
uniques,
bossing,
yes,
global uniques.
But then you have these like stupid uniques like Original Sin and Emperor Jewels, and you know how it is, right?
The
unique collection.
Yes. We all do.
The global uniques are the easy part.
Yeah.
But with how endgame changed and Scarabs changed, it's definitely going to be pretty fresh compared to last time.
Enjoy farming Cloak of Tamariel.
Yeah, I mean, last time I rolled 10,000 sextants, so I don't have to do that again.
Yeah. Out of that duty.
God bless.
We need to delegate mine to be a jewel roller. 10,000 alterations per day.
Oh boy.
Everyone plays Adorned.
Adorned.
Oh my god. It should be, well, to be fair, finding an Adorned in SSF kind of sucks, like, a lot. But finding an Adorned in trade is way easier, or in a group, because you could have one person scouring, one person chancing, with your fucking mouse wheel scrolling down on every single side zone, and it goes by a lot faster. So that would be pretty quick, probably, to get Adorns. If for those who don't know what I'm talking, like, you literally, when you make the fucking side zone white, you have one guy just spamming chance and one guy spamming scours, so it'll always be scour chancing every 0.2 seconds, and then you'll just, you'll hit a unique side zone probably in 5 minutes, but it's not going to be, that's like what it's like, probably go 1 in 20 to become the Adorned side zone or something. It's not great. Not good odds probably, but that's a cool one to get. Yeah, that sounds like a fun plan, Mr. Manny. And yeah, I guess there's anything else you guys want to talk about, or you want us to see if there's any questions in chat? Maybe a few people want to start asking those before we wrap up life.
Yeah, I'm really happy that I started league with super negative. I didn't have fun first week, and now it's turning around. That's
you ate your vegetables, now you can enjoy your meal. Your dessert.
Yeah, I got FOMO'd out of the wazoo. I don't know why it happened to me, but I'm so happy that I'm actually having fun with the game.
Yeah,
because I was the T17 balance just got to me, I think. So
yeah, it was really.
I feel like a lot of people had that going as well. So
it was terrible. On launch, it was so
very
shit.
Poorly received league overall.
Oh yeah, metrically it's wild. If it's always a different perspective for us because of our playtime, our knowledge, and the fact we're in SSF. But if you told me to rank leagues, I wouldn't put this in the bottom 10 personally. But metrically, it's doing dog shit, which is wild to me. But I don't know if that's just affliction hangover or time of year.
I think it's a bit of everything.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't get it.
It's much better in SSF than it is in trade, I think. And it's also much better for the more nerdy you are, I guess, the more. It
feels kind of like Synthesis in that league. In that way, it's the definitely caters towards the 1%ers more, because there's more. Maybe it's like a rich get richer thing.
Yeah, and then also the affliction hangover. Yeah,
I don't know how you could say that. Affliction hangover seems like, I just said it, but even coming out of my mouth, it seems kind of stupid because Headhunter's sub 10 divine. So even though Headhunter's nerfed, it's still
early on in
more
the league,
fun.
There was so much complaining that juicing is dead and all of these things. Coming
I
out
don't
of
know.
Affliction League where you had infinite loot, and then apparently it was impossible to make currency, judging from the complaints in Trade League. So
we just talked about how you could roll an Adorned Jewel for 5 divines, basically, that takes alterations. If you're that poor and that destitute, go roll Adorned Jewels and sell it to people. I have a friend who he just did Bestiary and has just been selling fucking frogs for 2 divines. They're 3.1 divines right now, the split frogs for doing scarabs, and he's running white tier 1 maps and he made 200 divines an hour or something. It was crazy. Anyone could make currency at the moment. It's not not even a skill thing. You just have to if you identify what the upper % of players are utilizing, and then you're just supplying them supplies, it's pretty easy to make currency.
I think people complain because like the way of making currency, like all those currency complaints are like, I can make currency the way I want to make currency because it's fun, and like all the fun ways of making currency are not mapping, not doing something fun
it
just
fluctuates.
Right?
Yeah, but that's like, every league that's going to happen. It's like saying that my build is dead and you play the same build 10 leagues in a row. Like, if you don't adapt to this game is ever changing, especially in trade for making money. Like, you have to like learn to pivot.
Oh, for sure.
But
instead of people pivoting, they complain. And
perfect example. Easy. How many level 100 tornado shot characters you have in standard? 20? Right?
A lot.
What are you playing right now? 3 non-TS builds, basically?
One TS build and 2 non-TS builds.
Yeah,
not by choice.
Exactly.
I mean, sorry. No, never mind. I'll go with your narrative. Yeah.
Well, how much how much worse is TS than non-TS? Like than it was like before.
It's absolutely terrible.
So if you kept doing the same thing, you'd probably be just kneecapping yourself.
I don't think TS is playable in Trade League.
Yeah.
Just because of the attack speed nerf, not the number nerf. It's the attack speed nerf, right? So it's the clear speed. It's just feels like shit without big attack speed.
Yep.
But maybe you fix that with like Adorn 8%.
Ooh, spicy.
Yeah, just fix it with Adorn, right?
When in doubt, Adorn to doubt.
I mean, that's what I thought about for a second. It's like, you pick 40% attack speed at most and Adorned, and then it's normal.
Yeah,
Classic TS.
To be fair, like there's some people, I was looking at some people playing Fulcrum Chieftain, and a lot of them were putting ignite duration on their Adorn jewels to get the Fulcrum ignite on you to like 16 seconds. So you just have 16 seconds of mega RF while you're walking around versus like dot multi. So it's like, you got enough damage. Let's just make it last longer. Like even like stat stackers using Adorn for 15% rolls plus things like it's quite flexible realistically, which again is why all roads lead to Adorn probably, but no shortage of fun to be had. Do you have any date on your league thing, Manny, for like advertising purposes, or is just sometime in the next month or so?
Don't worry about. It's not. I don't really want to advertise it anyways. It's more
it's not happening anymore. It's canceled. Understood.
I mean, yeah, it will be late to this league. I haven't really decided on a date yet anyway.
Or it might not even happen.
If you're interested, then just keep up to date with the stream or my Discord, and there will be info soon.
Yeah. Easy, you have anything to advertise in your non-advertising world?
Nope. Just
no one
appreciate the time as always.
Don't look at Easy.
Yeah, don't look at me.
Yeah.
Definitely good to catch up.
This guy has accounts set to private. He wears a mask every day.
Yeah.
He hides in the shadows like the Predator.
He hides in Ravage maps.
Yeah.
Yeah, just hiding in Ravage maps. That's me.
There you go. Leggy, anything?
Oh, watch my stream.
Watch your stream.
That would be nice. And I guess one day I'll stop stalling and make a new build.
One day.
Make my custom grid build like possible.
What happened to the minion idea? Did you want to do the Holy Relic?
I've heard good things about that build.
I'll do a minion build when you do a minion build.
All right.
I made
No. What happened was to that minion idea was that it is pretty much worse custom gridity. That's about it.
Yeah.
That's what happened.
Yeah, that happens.
It does feel kind of the same, right?
It's back to the fucking chart.
It plays the same.
Back to the chart.
It plays the same, and it's just worse. Now, it's more about like you play custom like Lancing Steel to trigger things. Like it literally is the same thing, but then you have to find things from Abyss, the jewel, and then you have to roll ghastly jewels, and then you just delete the character instead, and you have more fun.
Yeah, that sounds a bit rough for SSF, yeah.
Sounds about path. I made a character in hardcore solo self-found Ruthless just because after watching Crip complain and quit the league, I said, "You're a little bitch. I'm gonna make a character." And I he's at level like 55 or 60, and it's so unfun for me that I just don't have the will to play anymore. It's not hard at all. People were complaining that like Necropolis would make me hard in like hardcore. I mean, it's like if your build is shit, I guess, but I don't know. It was.
Dude, I've seen the most disgusting, ruthless geared characters.
Yeah.
This league. I got a link that profile that I thought, oh, this guy's gear is insane. What the fuck? And it was a ruthless character, and like,
so yeah, I don't. Yeah, that's why I don't get the. I don't know. It's like, also like, so ruthless is really easy. It just takes more time, right? Because everything's slower. That's basically it. It's like 90% slower in the beginning, and then eventually it ramps to be almost 1-to-1 for like gearing. I feel like, but not for mapping.
You haven't played it.
I got to maps before on ruthless. It just you don't sustain maps, but like it was just like sad.
It's still like it's purely the fact that you don't even have the normal ascendancy nodes, right? You have like super nerfed versions of it.
Depends on the build you play.
Silver flasks, and you don't have like movement skills. Like it's definitely.
I don't play fast anyway, so like for those things, I didn't really mind. Like it's different. Well, the main point I would say, like after playing it and seeing all the changes, especially in this last iteration of Ruthless, if you haven't played it since this patch, there's like so much development and balance being put into Ruthless. I was actually surprised, which was like. I was like shocked at how different it was, especially for lab stuff. Like, lab is a lot different in Ruthless, like with the ability to like reroll supports and stuff. Like, that's pretty crazy.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that was different.
Yeah, there's a bunch of stuff. Yeah.
Is grave crafting pretty much the same?
No, so it's you can pick your bases for certain things, but you require corpses to hit accessories. So like you need like a belt corpse to hit a belt, and then you can click on whatever belt you want. It's just neutered compared to normal PoE. You just need more, but like grave crafting is beyond OP in Ruthless because like everything you craft is 90 times better than anything you're gonna find because you just like. You can still make a rare that has 6 mods of which you could choose like most of the tags, and that alone is like easy peasy.
Browsing the Necropolis ladder right now, the Ruthless ladder, there's all the gear is obviously grave crafted, like 6 tier 1s. At least on the high level guys.
Yeah, the worst part of Ruthless, in my opinion, is just getting to maps. Like that's the part that sucks for me.
Really, I actually liked it, and that was the sentiment that most people had, that the progression to maps was actually kind of refreshing, but then the map grind is just so damn monotonous.
I don't like getting to maps on a 1-link. Like, that just feels boring to me. You know? I don't know. I don't like not having supports just feels bad to me. That's a lot of Ruthless.
I mean, that's kind of the fun, the pain. And when you find a support gem, you're like, oh my god, that's like a mirror.
Well, no, but when I find it, I'm like, oh, now I got to spend 8 hours in lab swapping it around to a different one of that color. That's how I felt. Like,
oh, true. That's a thing now.
Yep. Yeah. But yeah, Ruthless legally still exists. You want to play it? It's there. It's there. It's doing things. Anything else you guys want to talk about? You feel like we're fairly accomplished.
GG, please fix 17s. I beg you. I beg you. Please.
And by fix, you mean do what? Like, what's your proposed fix? Just TLDR.
Okay, TLDR, nerf them. Remove those stupid loot multipliers that are bound to difficulty. And that's about it. That's good enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, they probably shouldn't have like 200% more Scarabs found and stuff like that. That was a bit too much.
Yeah, don't panic buff after 5 days because people complain.
No, I kind of wonder if they're gonna be like brave enough to really remove those again, or
I don't think so. I think it's gonna be
badly received anyway. Can't really make it worse next league, right? We'll see how it goes.
Ooh, yeah, you don't want to put that sentence out there. Can't make it worse next league. We'll show you. We'll show you.
What I mean is, can they really nerf it more, right? Because people already have a very negative opinion now.
Remove the line that says can only be modified by Chaos Orbs.
I still think it's the mods that people have the biggest problem with. Like, they are not fun. So maybe like make them more rollable. So do something, please.
Yeah, I don't mind difficulty. I don't like being annoyed in a video game. Full stop. And like certain things annoy me. Like the action speed one annoys me. I don't know who could do that without being annoyed by that.
Drowning orb spawning on top of you while you're lagging, fighting at Divine Shrine or something.
Yeah, one-shotting orbs that go through and entire defense of the most tanky characters.
Oh yeah. The
imaginable.
volatile cores.
The volatile cores are crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cores
like
are pretty
200k
crazy.
elemental max hit or something, my character, but no, a volatile core is instant death.
Yeah, well, so is a drowning
maybe
lord,
it's
to be fair.
fireball, I sleep, but
Yes.
a volatile core, instant death.
Yeah. Get cord, kid. Yeah. Anything else from you, Manny?
No, I'm content.
He's
Good
content.
talk, good talk.
Neutral German stance continues. Net neutrality. I guess we'll reconvene. Well, I guess it depends on if/when the league gets extended. Seems like kind of the norm now, I guess. Has been for a while. It's like 50-50 league gets extended.
I mean, the question is, how much is it extended? Is it just like a week, or is it like 6 weeks? Or is it Crucible like 2 months or whatever it was there?
When's the supposed to be end date of the league?
It should be early July, right? Because the league started on the last March weekend.
Yeah, right before April. Yeah.
So 13 weeks would be end of June or early July.
Okay, so roughly 2 months from now. I guess
like 7 weeks.
All right. So if the league is still around and normal, maybe we'll do another one before whatever. Maybe we'll do one for Manny's secret private league that may or may not be happening.
No habla inglés.
Yeah, no habla private league.
No habla private league.
Just play Diablo 4. Diablo 4 new season login.
Yeah,
it's true.
Oh shit.
Yep. Yeah, they did. They added trading. I think I think that's the update.
What?
I think they added trading or something. That's what someone was saying.
Did they add the game already? Or
no, they added trading, but
no.
you can't trade the ultra rare legendaries, which is the only thing that would be worth trading probably. So still not a real game. Fun. Are any of you guys streaming after this?
Not yet.
Legi?
Probably not yet either. I need to eat.
All right. Well, we're just gonna end the stream then. No one gets raided. That's that. Then, but you guys will be streaming later today. Either of you?
The podcast went longer than I expected, so
What a baby.
probably not anymore.
What a big baby. It was 3.5 hours to be fair.
Yeah, we got a lot of stuff to talk about.
Yeah.
And very divisively, a lot of changes. Yeah.
Yeah. And here I am and just running ultimatums. Totally out of the bubble. Until my head falls off.
Have you seen any Trial Master during this whole podcast?
Nope. Nope. To be fair, I think he's like I think with the nodes on the Atlas, he's like a 1 in 40-ish. That's what it feels like.
No. It's 125, right? Or 130?
No fucking shot is
132.
125. How do you? I don't know. That's
Still issue.
I don't know. Right now, I'm at 11 trial masters and 444 ultimatums. So that's a pretty basic number, but 1 in 40. That's pretty much.
I think you got unlucky. I think you got unlucky.
Yeah, it's 50-50 actually.
I'm not done. Talk to me in 2,000 maps.
I mean, so far, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'll have a pretty good sample size at the end of this, at least.
I mean, I did 50 last week or something like that, like 40.
Yeah.
And mine was like around 30, I think. I got a bit lucky, I think.
Yeah.
It was like below 30, but I think it's 30, yeah.
Yeah. Why not use the Scarabs? The only one that helps you get Trial Master is the one that says spawns Trial Master, but I'm all out otherwise for the most part. I gotta do more 17s. That's how you get Scarabs.
That's how you get everything in this game.
Yeah, I gotta get my 17s. I gotta roll my barrels and stuff for my magic mobs, and then I gotta go do that. And then I can drop 3 million Scarabs, get Carpal Tunnel, and then I can go back to Ultimatum.
That's the plan.
Yep. All right. That seems like a good place to stop from here.
Yep.
Thank you, Easy. Thank you, Legi. Thank you, Manny. You could find these people. You can't find Easy anywhere. By design, he's designed that way. Yep. Easy to hide, not easy to find. And then like you could find at Legi.com. I don't know. I have no idea where the fuck that URL goes.
I don't know either.
That could be very nefarious, but we'll say that. Manni will not be having a private league ever again. 100% guarantee. Yeah, Manni.thed.com. I'm sure that's a great website also.
Yeah.
Mandi.com. And both those boys will be streaming, but not today because Manni's sleepy. He needs his beauty sleep. But he might just degen path anyway, who knows? Otherwise,
Who knows?
If you just go to the PlusOne page, you'll see everyone who's live at any point in time. That's the easiest thing to do. Just make that your homepage, and then you could just leech off of that.
Do it.
I wish that it would let us you could only watch the person on the display that has the most viewers at the time, right? Which you can't swap between them from that page, which is kind of weird that Twitch designed it that way. Yeah, if all three of us are streaming, you couldn't just click on the left and it'll change the display. It only shows the person that has the top priority, which is a design choice by Twitch. But since legally I work for them, I love you, Twitch, and I'm not complaining.
Yeah, obviously. Especially you're not complaining that they are taking away your money from Prime, right?
Not mine.
Complaining over that either.
My splits are legacy.
All right, you're.
I have 80. Okay, I have 85-15 splits, and I'm never gonna have those go away. So.
Wait, what?
Yeah, I have original partner splits for things. So.
Oh, that's so lucky.
I am. Yeah, but to be fair, you if you ever make more than, I think $100,000 a year, then I think they gouge your splits again, and that goes back down. But I feel like if you're making $100,000 a year from playing Path, you're probably okay anyway. So, LOL. That's it. Okay, everyone's leaving. Everyone, you can't.
Bye.
You can't.
Bye.
Yeah, we're going. Okay, stream over in 3. Manni's gone already.